You make me feel so young. You make me feel that spring sprung. And every time I see you grin.
All right. Where's the lady that I held up her book? Where is she?
Right here.
Where are you? Here, come and get this. You can keep it tonight. Bring it back tomorrow.
Okay.
And Mark, Mark all the plays I got marked. I can teach you. That is the best book.
Okay. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Good. All right. I've got to talk to this camera over here. I don't know where you are, but you're somewhere in the world other than here. And we want to thank you for streaming into us, or letting us stream into you. I want you to make believe. There's a great song by Nat King Cole, who's been gone a number of years, but he was probably one of America's greatest singers. And if you look up on the internet, you'll get Nat King Cole, N-A-T, Nat King Cole, and pretend. Pretend. Pretend you're happy when you're blue. It isn't very hard to do. Take the lyrics of that and start living it. Now, pretend that you're here in the room with us. And I'll start talking to that camera every now and then. You see, I've created an awareness that that is the camera for the streamers, so I want to talk to the streamers. I want you to mentally bring yourself right into this room with us. And you can do that. Your imagination will take you anywhere. Let it bring you right into this room. And then really pay close attention to what we're doing. Now, everyone has this brochure on your desk or on your table. This is one of the best deals you'll ever see. This is on 6 Minutes to Success. For $1, you can try this for 2 weeks. Every morning, I will send you a video. Every morning, I'll send you a video that I've made. I think Sandy's made some too. They're in there. And the idea behind it is, you watch this video first thing every morning. And then attempt to do whatever it is we're talking about all day. Now, I say attempt because it's not a habit, so you're going to have to trigger your memory. Carry a note. Put a note in your hand. And you're going to use the idea that we're giving you every morning. You're going to use that throughout the day. I know all kinds of people that will tell me this is one of the best things they've ever subscribed to. Now, after 2 weeks, if you like it, it's only $29.95 a month. All right? $30 a month. You're not going to get a latte with anything in it at Starbucks for $30. I think they charge about $100 for a cup of coffee. I remember, I can remember, some of you are old enough to remember this, when coffee was 10 cents. And they talked about raising it to a quarter, and everybody said nobody will ever buy it. Guy that owns Starbucks thought differently. And he's done all right. But at any rate, you want to subscribe to this. It's a good thing to subscribe to. Let's go back here. What do you really want? You've got to really think about that. What do you want? Wherever you are in the world streaming, I want you to think of what you want. And don't let the people around you dissuade you. Yet doesn't matter what it is you have. Don't have to have any idea how you're going to get it. All you have to do is want it. Okay? Now, see, that's going to be my goal. You see, I sat down one day in a little room in a house on Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois. And I took my pen and I wrote on it that I was going to have a company that operates all over the world. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do that. I just started the company. I didn't have any clients, nothing. I just left the Nightingale Conant Corporation, and I was starting my own seminar company. I had no idea where I was going to get clients. I just knew that the world was full of people that needed what we have, and so I said, I'm going to do it. And Something tells me, Ricky, I should give you this pen. This is a special pen. You see?
Anything from you is special.
This is Bob's pen. Okay?
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Now, I think we're in 118 countries now. We have representatives, we have consultants in 118 countries. So when you start thinking of why you can't do it, stop it right away. And start to think of how can you do it. We're in 118 countries. I didn't even have a client. I was all by myself. I've even given my pen away. All right? I didn't have any idea how I was going to do this. I knew I didn't have to have any idea how to do it. I only had to want it. And I wanted it. Now, I've been working at this a long time. But what a great way to spend your life, going after a big idea. Most people aren't going anywhere or doing anything. So you've got to set a goal. And you've got to say, that's what I want. Now, it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. It's got to be in your mind. Okay? Now, I want you to think of this. Turn over to page 19 if you're not on page 19. And let's look. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. It requires no modification, no improvement. Now, I want you to let that sink in. You letting it sink in, Robert? You're letting it sink in. I know Kelly's got it, and she and I are both praying for you, right? Right? Now think. Really think. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. You know, when you get this, it answers so many questions that we were wondering. Your spiritual DNA, in other words, the essence of who you are, it's right in the center of your consciousness. It's what Solomon said, the heart of hearts. It's perfect. There's perfection within us. And I'm going to tell you something, that perfection seeks expression within through us. It's always seeking expression. That's why you're never going to be satisfied with what you've got. If you run, you want to run faster. If you jump, you want to jump higher. If you sell, you want to sell more. Yet, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to want to do it bigger and better because Spirit's always for expansion and fuller expression. That's the essence of who you are. And if you're getting a little disturbed, a little depressed, you're going to have something inside stirring, and it's going to want to get out. And depression is just putting a cap on it. You better take the cap off because it's going to drive you nuts. It's for expansion and full expression. Your DNA is always for expansion and full expression. Now, get this. Your DNA is all-knowing. All the knowledge there ever has or ever will be is within us. You don't even have to get it. You've got it. Madame Montessori understood this. She said, you know, we send little kids to school and we treat them like they're a cup, and we want the teacher to fill the cup. She's what they don't understand is the cup's already full. What we want to do is get them to figure out how to take it out of the cup. Perfection is within you. All the knowledge there ever was. You know all the things you're trying to figure out? All the answers are within you. But you got to be calm. You got to know. All the power. You're wondering whether you're going to have the energy to do the job? I like what Emerson said. He says, do the thing, you'll get the energy to do the thing. There's no lack of energy. Absolutely none. You know, a year ago, I was really sick. And nobody knew what was wrong with me. But I mean, I was really sick. I actually thought at the time I was dying. And I was doing a seminar. The green room was on that side. And I'd be in the green room. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get up out of the chair I was in. And I knew I had to walk over the side and come up some steps onto the platform. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it. But the second I started to do the seminar, no one knew there was a thing wrong with me. You see, all pain and pleasure is only in your conscious mind. And I was giving all my attention. I wanted you to get this. All my attention was on you. So I had no pain or pleasure. You see? We've got to understand that. We've got to understand the principle behind that. It's what you think. When you're not feeling bad, what do you have a tendency to do? Sit and focus on it. Oh, I feel so crappy. I think I'm going to die, you know. Get it out of your mind. Start doing something that you love. Understand, there's no shortage of energy. Somebody say, where does she get all the energy? Where does he get? You don't get energy. You've already got it. What you're doing is releasing the energy. Desire is the triggering mechanism. Woo! You let it go. All the power, all the knowledge is within you now. Doesn't matter where you are. It's there. It's ever present. Because it's such a big idea, and it sounds almost preposterous. Must be make-believe. Well, make-believe. You see? All the power, all the knowledge is with you wherever you are. Doesn't matter where you are. You could be underwater. Underwater. You could actually be underwater. And you can think. Mitchell was telling me he was on the other side of the moon. He was thinking. He was mentally communicating with people on Earth. You can do that. In fact, you're already doing it. You often do it. You're thinking of somebody and they phone you. Or they're thinking of you and you phone them. You know, this is the damnedest thing. What a coincidence. I'm just thinking of you. But you don't really know what you're doing, so what the hell, you know? That's the way it goes. Now, this is such a big idea. Your spiritual DNA, that's the essence right in the soul. It's in the soul. That's the soul. See, you don't have a soul. You are a soul. All-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present. Doesn't matter where you are. That's the real you. Are you truly who you pretend to be? Who's there? Oh, it's just me. You know, just me. We're going to know who we are. We've got to get a real clear thought of who we are. There's something so phenomenal about you and me. I've been studying it every day for 58 years, and I know I'm only scratching the surface. Now, I'm a pretty aware individual. I've studied this a lot, and I've used it in all kinds of areas. But I've done nothing relative to what I was capable of doing. Neither are you. Yep, we can get that straight in our mind and understand bad times aren't bad times unless we make them bad times. There's no such thing as bad or good. Everything just is. Everything just is. We make it bad or good. There's a great book by Ralph Waldo Trine. That's Trine, T-R-I-N-E, Ralph Waldo Trine. It's called In Tune with the Infinite. In that book, he says, nothing's good or bad except our thinking makes it so. He's right. See, when the power flows into your consciousness, it just is. That's when we do something with it. We either make it good or bad. Now, you know, there's so much just in that one slide there. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. It doesn't require any modification or any improvement. It's all-knowing. It's all-powerful, and it's ever-present. Doesn't matter where you are. It's with you. Before you speak, I'll hear you, I think was written. Okay? You are a spiritual being. That's what you are. And you live in a physical body. You'll hear people say, you know, that they're having a spiritual experience. No, you're not. You're having a physical experience. You're a spiritual being. And unlike any other form of animal life, you've been blessed with something called an intellect, these higher faculties. All the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. They blend in. You and I are the only creature on the planet that's totally disoriented in our environment. That's because we're created in such a way we can create our own environment. The other little creatures are not able to do that. We can create our own environment. Think about that. Now, we talk about emotions. It's your intellect that dictates how your emotions are going to flow. You see, you decide your emotional state. You see a lot of people getting really upset and grieve for long, long periods of time when somebody dies. There's a great book called Dry Those Tears by Robert Russell. It's out of print, but you can get a copy. Dry Those Tears by Robert Russell. Robert Russell was a phenomenal writer. I have a whole series of his books. Dry Those Tears is such a good book. You know what we want to recognize? That birth and death are parts of the same thing. They're both transitions. Birth and death are both transitions. If nothing's created or destroyed, that only postulates the theory of life. There's no such thing as death. You move out of your body. You moved into it, you're going to move out of it. Think about this. We are spiritual beings. Now, spirit is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. There's no place where spirit is not. Everything you see is an expression of the same thing. This book is made of paper. When I was a little boy, I was four to 5 years old, I lived in a place called Mishabicotton Harbor. It was on an Indian reserve. It was in a lumber camp, a pulpwood camp. We lived in a little log cabin almost beside the railroad tracks. In fact, when a train went by, the cabin would shake. Bears used to come up and look in the window. Yeah, I mean, we were right out in the woods. I would see these huge big logs. I mean, you wouldn't even get your arm around them. They were huge. There'd be a few of them on a flat car, but there'd be a lot of flat cars. So all these logs, the trains would be hauling them out of this place. They were pulpwood. And I was told they're going to make paper out of it. Now you can imagine where my mind was at. You're going to make paper out of a tree? Well, where'd the tree come from? The tree came from the earth, didn't it? And it grows into a tree. Then we take the tree and we can make it into paper. We can burn the paper and throw it back in the earth, and it'll grow back into a tree again. You see? It's a cycle. Nothing's created or destroyed, ever. Nothing is created or destroyed. Everything's in an evolution, a constant evolution of change. You are too. We are in a constant evolution of change. Now, only us, so far as we know, we're the only creature on the planet that can dictate the change that's going to take place. And you're finding that most people sit and do nothing. Yet something comes along, they have to do something, they'll do it. But it never enters their mind that they're the most creative creature on the planet. Nothing will equal you and me. Nothing. We can do anything. And most people are just trying to get by. Bitching all the way from the cradle to the casket. You see? Why? Well, they don't know. Spirit is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Now, spirit operates by law. It operates perfectly by law. Let these lines represent levels of vibration. Okay? They represent levels of vibration. There's a law of vibration. That law decrees that everything moves, nothing rests. That wall's moving. You say, oh, the wall's not moving. Get a microscope and look at it. You'll see it moving. The body in a coffin is moving. It's moving. You say, no, the body's dead. Nothing's dead. Everything's moving. And if it wasn't moving, how would it ever change to dust? Think, yeah, I never thought of that. Well, I'll keep you thinking for about 20 years. Think. The law of vibration decrees we live in an ocean of motion. Nothing, everything moves, nothing rests. And you are made up of that power. You're a spiritual being. And spirit always manifests through its polar opposite, the physical. Spirit manifests through its polar opposite. No thing to something. Okay? How do we take control? We take control because we have been gifted with an intellect. And it's the intellect that taps into the no thing and creates something. We can do that. Now here's what we want to try and grasp. Every frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. That means that everything in this universe is connected. That means we're connected. You see, but you're seeing with your physical eyes space, nothing here. Well, let's say we're going to put more of this no thing into this room. Let's tape all the holes or cracks, and we put a straw in and start put no thing, more of it, more of it, more of it. This would turn into a balloon, wouldn't it? But because it doesn't expand, we'd blow the walls out of the place. You say what you don't know won't hurt you. What you don't know can kill you. This, we say no thing. There's something here. It's called energy. And that's what you're made out of. Now let's look at this. You operate on 3 different levels of understanding. Number 1, we are physical beings. Now let that glass represent a glass of water. We're over on page 21. Now the water is energy. I've got a bottle here of water. Okay? The water is energy. Let's take and add heat to the water, and what happens? It moves into something called steam. It's not water anymore. Yet it's the same energy, but it's moving at a different speed. Now we call it steam. Because we keep adding heat, it moves from steam into air, ether, or gas. Now here's what we want to grasp. Ether, steam, and water. All the same energy. There's no line of demarcation where it stops becoming water, starts becoming steam. It's the same energy, just moving into different speeds. Okay? Now keep thinking. You're a spiritual being, and you live in a physical body. You have an intellect. And it's through the proper use of the intellect that you can change anything in the physical world. So what do? We take our mind and we tap into no thing. That's where thoughts are. There's an infinite number of them. When we pull them all together and we build something called an idea, and that's what an idea is. It's a group of thoughts that move into form. And if we hold that idea long enough, that idea must turn into results. That's where Andrew Carnegie said, any idea that is held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. See, you can think of a bad thing and keep dwelling on it, it'll happen. Think of a good thing, keeps dwelling on it, it'll happen. We can actually cause the non-physical energy to move into form. We can do it with our marvelous mind. I'll give you an exercise. I want you to think, you'll remember this. Someday when you're maybe sitting out in the backyard or just sitting, maybe having a beer somewhere, and you look up in the sky and you see all these tiny little puffy clouds. Say, I'm going to make them go away. And you pick a little cloud, and you think, I'll make that little one go away. And you just visualize that cloud disappearing. You see it getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and pretty soon the damn thing will be gone. I became aware that I could do this one time driving up I-75 in Atlanta with Harold Gash. Harold Gash was VP at Nightingale, so was I. And we were traveling around selling for them. And we were coming up I-75, and I was just sitting back in the seat. I don't know where we'd come from, but we'd been flying all over the place. And I saw these clouds, and I started to laugh. I made it go away. I just knew I couldn't. I did. And Harold says, what are you doing? I said, I'm making clouds go. He said, get out of here, Proctor. And I said, well, pick a cloud. So we decided on a cloud, and I made it go away. We almost drove off the road. Well, then we checked into the executive hotel up on I-75, and there was a park, and then you can walk into your rooms. His door was open, and I'd gone in and, I don't know, maybe unpacked or something. I come sat outside. I hear him talking to his wife. She said, you wouldn't believe it, the guy's making clouds go away. Well, you can do that. Now stop and think what a cloud is. Cloud is energy in an astral state. It moves from a non-physical to an astral state. So it's just energy in a cloud form. As you concentrate energy, your thought is energy. Thought waves are cosmic waves that penetrate all time and space. you concentrate. That's like taking a match to a piece of paper. Well, you concentrate, you see that cloud going away. You can put little holes in it, or you could just cause it to disappear, and it will increase in amplitude of vibration and go back into no thing. That's where it came from. It came from no thing into something, into an astral state. Well, your thought energy will cause it to start moving faster. It moves back up to where it came from. You want to start doing some of these things, you start to understand the power you've got in your mind. Okay? Now, I don't know if we passed out those. Where's Gina? Is Gina here? Is anybody here? Have we passed out these? Have these been passed out? Hello, somebody? They haven't been. Well, yeah, do you have them there? I want you to get them and pass them out. Okay? Now, this is a universal wealth principle. It's upside down and inside out. And if you go contrary to that, what are you doing? You're letting present results come into the consciousness. You get emotionally involved and you're creating more of the same. We want to go upside from no thing, down, from inside out. You don't go outside in, you go inside out. So you start thinking, you pull it into your consciousness, it's upside down and inside out. That is a creative process. Most people go from the outside in and they got it all messed up. And they're not getting the results they want. You must never go from the present results. Don't let the present results dictate your thinking. Go from what you want. That's going from the upside. What you want, you have the ability to create thoughts. You go in and just build a picture. Build a picture of the good you desire. And you get emotionally involved. You get it inside. That emotional involvement will cause your body to start moving into action. So it's upside down and inside out. It's making sense? Makes a lot of sense as you start to do it. Now, we got a little, we'll pass those out, and you'll get them after. We'll talk about them. All right? So let's think. Now, in 1934, we're talking about the mind here, and let's personalize it now. Rather than just talk about the mind, we want to talk about your mind and your paradigm. So I want you to start thinking about yourself. So start personalizing this. Really think of your own situation. I want you to think about your financial situation, your relationships, your health. Think of you. Bring your, think of the doggy, the puppy academy. Build a picture of what you want. Now, everything starts in the mind. Problem is, most people don't understand this. There was a doctor in San Antonio, Texas, Dr. Truman Fleet. He was very involved in the healing arts. And he said that mind is an activity, it's not a thing. No one's ever seen the mind. In order to gain clarity and eliminate confusion, he said, I'm going to make a picture of the mind. No one has ever seen the mind. There is no such thing as mental retardation. No such thing. The mind cannot be damaged. The mind is perfect. Mind is movement. Body is a manifestation of that movement. If there's a problem in the body, it has to originate in the mind. The problem is in the cells in the brain. Now, he said the problem here, this guy was very involved in the healing arts, the problem is we're treating symptoms. We're not treating the cause of problems at all. We're going to the expression of the symptom, or of the cause. We're going to the symptom and teaching the symptom. They're getting those coins now. All right? So he said, I am going to create an image of the mind. And that's when he drew this picture. Now, I'm going to tell you, without question, this is the most valuable idea I've ever learned. He said, we're going to divide the mind into two parts. The big circle is the mind. And he says, you've got the conscious mind, you've got the subconscious mind, and then the body is the instrument of the mind. Now, I'm going to tell you, if I was sitting talking to you, I would have an imaginary line across the center of your head in a split millisecond. And I would start talking, I'd bring all my conscious attention to bear on you, and I'd know whether you're accepting what I'm talking about, and I'd know whether you're getting emotionally involved. I would feel the energy shift. I would feel it. I'd give you all my conscious attention. And if you're selling anything, that's what you've got to start doing. There's absolutely no way to know if you're making a headway if you don't do this. You can't go by what they tell you, because they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. You got to tune into their energy. You got to start feeling their energy. So I would have you would look like the stick person to me. You'd have an imaginary line right across the center of your head. Now, no question about it, that's the most valuable idea I've ever learned. I can remember the first time I learned it. I got it from a mentor, Val Vanderwall. Vanderwall was brilliant. He's gone now, God bless him, but he and I became great friends. And I knew marketing. I knew more about marketing. He knew about the mind. He knew more about the mind than I knew about marketing. So we just paired up and we really helped each other. And it was Dr. Harry Roeder that really taught me everything pretty well that I know about the mind. I know a lot about the mind. I've taught this to psychiatrists for a long time. I had a psychiatrist woman in Toronto said that I knew more about the mind than any psychiatrist she's ever worked with. I always found that rather amusing because I wasn't a psychiatrist, you know. Now let's break this down and see how it works. There's the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the body. Now the conscious mind is the thinking mind. It's that part of you that thinks. The conscious mind is the educated mind. That's the part the school focuses on. The conscious mind is also where the intellect is resident. Now, I don't care where you are in the world, I want to mentally ask you, if you're streaming, come in here, the room with us. Just come into this room with us. Because I want you to benefit from this as much as everybody in the room. We have thousands of people scattered around in well over 100 countries. I think somebody said 141 countries. Come in the room and really listen. And start to see the top half of your head is your conscious mind. Now, that's not how it is. Your conscious mind's in your fingernail. But you've got to have an image to operate with. So you see your thinking mind, your educated mind, and the intellect. Now, the subconscious is quite different. That's your emotional mind. Operates totally different. Now, the conscious mind, because you can think, let's get rid of that for a moment and put some more information. You have the ability to choose. In your conscious mind, you can choose. You don't have to accept anything. You have the ability to accept or reject anything you hear. When you hear that the economy is going down the tubes, reject the idea. Say, it's not going down my tubes. I'm going to win. Do you know, in the worst depression, there's people who are in millions. And in the most best times we've ever seen, there's people going out of business. Your conscious mind can accept or reject. What do we say to do with that other coin? You know, react, you lose. Respond, you win. Stop and think. Now get this. If you reject, you've got the ability to originate. You can go tap into no thing that flows, and you can build anything you want. Now, your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. When you build an idea in your conscious and you impress it upon your subconscious, baby, that's when everything starts to move. Your subconscious mind must accept anything you give to it. It has absolutely no ability to reject. Think of this. The subconscious mind is immoral. It doesn't care what you plant, but it'll accept it. It's like the earth. I love the way Earl Nightingale put it in The Strangest Secret. Is you can plant nightshade, a deadly poison, and not a 16th of an inch away, you can plant corn, a sweet food. One will grow with just as great an abundance as the other. Now think. Think, really think. Your subconscious mind will accept anything you give to it, and it cannot differentiate between what you imagine and what's real. If you consciously build a negative picture in your mind and start to get emotionally involved, let's build a bit of a scenario. Let's say she just turned 16. She passed her driving test. She has her license. And she's got the family car, and she's going out with her friends. Everybody, meaning mom and dad, are very nervous. But they've got to let go, so they let her go. You'd be in by 9:30. Well, 11 o'clock, she still isn't home. all hell's breaking loose in their mind. Their imagination is doing what? She's in an accident, she drove off a cliff. I mean, imagination going all over the place. Subconscious can't tell the difference. You get really upset. You could get physically sick. The truth is, she was at her girlfriend's place, and they were watching a movie, and both of them fell asleep sitting in chairs. And she comes home. You don't know whether to scream and hit her or go and hug her. Your emotional mind will accept something you've created that's not real, and you'll still get upset. Fear has been known to kill a person faster than a speeding bullet. Your subconscious mind will accept whatever you give to it. It has no ability to reject. And whatever's impressed upon the subconscious is going to affect the entire body. The body is the instrument of the mind. Now let's go to the next level. Now with that knowledge in mind, let's say this is you today. And you're being inundated with information from the radio, from other people, from TV or newspapers. It is terrible information. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. Now, we have a reasoning factor. That's one of our higher faculties, reason. We have the ability to reason with that and say, wait a minute, that's a bunch of nonsense. I'm going to reject all that information. Get out of here. I can think. I'm not accepting that. We don't do that. You see, reason gives you the ability to think. Our problem is we don't think. And so it not only doesn't go away, here's what happens. Because we don't think, our mind is left wide open, and it goes right into our subconscious. And what do we say about the subconscious? It has no ability to reject. It'll accept whatever you give to it. So all this nonsense that you're hearing outside, people are getting emotionally involved in. Bad news. Why would we do that? Well, we're programmed to do it. That's part of the paradigm. We don't think. We have never been taught to think. Thinking is a subject which can be taught, just the same as we teach typing, music, and any other subject. You can teach people to think. The truth is, most people don't think. Dr. Ken McFarland from down in Kentucky, he was in superintendent of schools, a great horseman, very well-known man. He one time said 2% of the people think, 3% think they think, 95% would actually rather die than think. Earl Nightingale one time said if most people said they were thinking, they would be speechless. I want to suggest sometime next week that you remember this. You might write a note to yourself to remember this. Listen to what people are saying. I don't care, people at work, friends, family, listen to them. And then ask yourself, are they thinking? Would they talk like that? Would they say that if they were thinking? Odds are pretty good they wouldn't be. Most people do not think. It's the chatter of the masses. They just talk. But they don't think. Why? What's their paradigm? Now, how did that happen? Well, let's close the window on that and go over on this side, and we'll take a look at now when you're an infant. See, this is not the way you are here now. This is how you are now. But this is the way you started out as an infant. Your subconscious mind was wide open. Let's suppose a baby is born to white Anglo-Saxon, English-speaking Christian home in New Jersey. And the baby's taken out of there, and it's put in a home that is in the suburbs of Shanghai. That baby's going to grow up fluent in Chinese, no knowledge of the English language. Think. If you took the baby out of Shanghai and put them in that English-speaking home, they grow up speaking English, no knowledge of the Chinese language. Why do you like the food you like? That's why. Whatever was being eaten around you, whatever was being said was being dumped right into your mind. I'll tell you a cute story. I met my wife a little over 40 years ago, and we were out shopping one day, and she said, "What do you want to eat?" And I said, "You know what I'd like is some turnip." Okay. So I went over and picked up a turnip. She said, "What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "I'm going to eat it." Well, she said, "I'm not eating that. I'm not cooking it either." I said, why not? She said, well, we give that to the pigs. I said, what do you mean? Well, that's the root of the turnip. And she said, root, I thought it's growing underground. Yeah, it probably does grow underground. I said, what do you eat? She said, we eat the green. Well, I said, isn't that the damnedest thing? We give that to the pigs. It's a true story. That was 40 years ago. We don't eat turnip in our house. I don't eat the green, she doesn't eat the root. So we just don't eat turnip. It was decided 40 years ago, and what the hell, why argue over it? She was born and raised in southern Alabama and Pensacola, Florida. I was born and raised in northern Ontario in Canada. Two totally different cultures. They eat the green of the turnip, we eat the root. They feed the green or the root to the pigs, we feed the green to the pigs. Totally different cultures. But those cultures are programmed right into our subconscious mind. See, whatever's going around goes right in the subconscious mind. And over and over and over, whatever's going on around goes right in. And you know that that is where your self-image was formed as a little child. That stuff going right into your subconscious mind. And that's where you built the image of you as a baby. And you're probably surrounded by people that knew nothing about any of this. Nada. Think. All the nonsense that goes around. If you don't go to school, you can't get a good job. You've got to be really smart if you're going to earn a lot of money. Around our place, that's all I heard. I believed it. Why wouldn't I believe it? It's the only thing I heard. I knew I wasn't very smart, so I couldn't get a good job. I didn't go to school. I can't earn any money. So I just struggled until I was 26. And then somebody gave me this book and some direction. And my whole life started to spin. Your subconscious mind is being programmed. It's your self-image. And this is where Heinlein said, in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. That's part of the paradigm. You see, the self-image is part of the paradigm. Your self-image is how you see you. This is so important. And here we are, 40, 50 years later, exactly the same ideas are controlling us. Why? This is crazy. That's the way it works. I think it would be a good idea if we woke up. There's a great book by a man named Glenn Doman, How to Multiply Your Baby's Intelligence. He's teaching kids to read before they can talk. Now, he's not doing it. He's probably gone now, but his daughter, I think, runs a school. They have a Institute for the Development of Human Potentials, I think it is, over in around Philadelphia. They actually teach people to read before they can talk. People say, well, how would you do that? Well, you start programming brain cells. And you do that before their voice box is even developed. And you can do that with an infant. Whatever's going on around that infant is going right into that infant's subconscious mind. And make no mistake about it, that's how it happens. Now, I was born during a depression. It was when a war was breaking out. The whole world was going to war back in the 30s, the late 30s. And there was great signs everywhere, no help wanted. It was tough times. Well, that's the environment my mind was at when I was a little kid. Is it any wonder that I was still struggling when I was 26? It was the way I was programmed. I feel fortunate I broke out of it. Most people never break out of it. Now keep thinking. Are you living the way you are programmed to live, or are you living the way you want? You see? So here we are as little kids, then we go to school. However, school never taught us how to alter old paradigms. So we frequently don't do what we already know how to do. Why are you doing that? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You know better. I know. Why? I don't know. So look, superior knowledge, inferior results, That causes confusion and frustration. A person knows they're pretty bright, and yet they're getting bad results. They're very confused. Why? Well, let's take the model and look at it. What does school do? School gives you all kinds of knowledge. And where is it? In the conscious mind. You can remember it. That's where it is. But it doesn't resonate with the results we're getting. So here you got a person that's absolutely brilliant with bad results. That causes a lot of frustration. That'll cause that'll cause a bad image. Don't let the results have anything to do with what you're doing. Absolutely refuse to do that. Because look it's the paradigm that produces the results, not what you know. And you can change that paradigm. If you want to change your results, as a matter of fact, that's the only way to change your results, is to change your paradigm. Because it's not the knowledge that's giving you the results. It's the paradigm that's giving you the results. It's the subconscious mind that controls the form of the actions of the body. It's our behavior that produces the results. This is something that you really want to think about. I'd put a big asterisk beside that slide and really think about it. And then I want you to think of some of the people you know. There's people you know who are absolutely brilliant, and yet they're getting terrible results. Why are they getting terrible results? Their paradigm. And they didn't even build the paradigm. See, your parents are responsible for you being the way you are. But understand this, they did the best they could with what they had. They couldn't have done any better. So they may be responsible for who you are. You're responsible to change it. They're not responsible. Don't blame them. They give you the best they had. They give you all they could give you with what they had. See, where I was growing up in that reserve, on that camp, as a little boy, that's where I started to go to school. There's a war breaking out. They didn't know what they were doing with me. They didn't even know what to do with themselves, for God's sake. And here they have a human being, a baby, and you're molding that baby's mind. They had no idea what they were doing, but they did the best they could. My mother raised 3 of us on her own. And whenever my brother and sister talk, we say, God bless Mother. Man, she had a great work ethic. We all got a great work ethic. Even when I was going in the wrong direction, I was working. We have all done very well because she taught us, just don't quit. Keep on going. Keep on going. There's no end to what you can do. But I'm going to tell you something. That graphic is so accurate. Let's back it up for a second. The results don't even come close to the knowledge. You know the person is brilliant. They are absolutely brilliant because they got all this knowledge. But it's the paradigm that produces the results. And if you're going to change your life, you've got to change your paradigm. And if you don't, you're going to stay the same. Some people say, well, if I go back to school. That's not the answer. That's not the answer. Sit down. I'll tell you what an answer is. Sit down and write out a description of how you would really like to be. How you would like to be. And you know if you became like that, you would achieve all the results you want. So you sit down, you write it out. I'm so happy and grateful. That's always a way to start. I'm so happy and grateful now that. And then describe your life exactly the way you want it. Present tense. In as few words as possible. Then rewrite that every day 100 times for about 90 days. You know what's going to happen? Your thinking is going to start to shift. And when that happens, your emotions are going to start to shift. When that happens, your behavior, and pretty soon the results will. You've got this coin now. You'll see on one side's rough. That's where you're letting the results control your thinking. The other side is smooth, upside down, inside out. Upside down, inside out. Carry this coin around. You got the 2 coins now. Put one in one hand, one in the other hand. Okay? Now, let's look here. Here we are here. There's the mind, the body. Okay? Now, there's your conscious mind and your subconscious. Now, the conscious mind has hooked up to it senses. You can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And they're like little antennae plugged onto the conscious mind. So they pick up information from outside. You can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. Okay? What you want to understand, though, is that the conscious mind is also the intellectual mind. Okay? And since it's the intellectual mind, you have intellectual factors. This is important you get this right. You have perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and last but not least, reason, the ability to choose your own thoughts. Now, it's your intellect that's going to dictate what goes into your emotional mind. When you put same idea and over and over and over, it becomes fixed in there. It's the ideas that go into the emotional mind that dictate the vibration your body's in. The vibration your body in is going to dictate how you act. Now, there's the problem. We have not been taught anything about these higher faculties. School does not teach that. It doesn't teach it. School teaches a lot of crazy ideas. What's your name?
Dave.
Huh?
Dave.
How you doing, Dave?
How are you?
If I asked somebody here what color you are, what would they tell me?
They'll probably say black.
Probably say black. Yeah, they probably would. And they'd be just about as wrong as you could be. They'd probably say I'm white. Now, my shirt's white. If you ever saw a person the color of my shirt and say, my God, they're white! They would scare you. I'm not white. Why do we say I'm white? Why do they say Dave's black? Dave's not black. He is not black. Why is it? Because that's what we see. You don't see with your eyes. You see through your eyes. You see with cells of recognition in your brain. Yet, bad programming. You're trained to see something that isn't there. I'm trained to see black, and black's not there. You're trained to see white, white's not here. How many other things are you trained to see that aren't there? Now think, this is important. If you stuck Dave and I both in a damn good fire, we'd both reduce to the same level. We'd just be non-physical energy. We're exactly the same. But you know something? The idea that I'm different than you, you're different than me is so deeply welded into our subconscious mind, when we go to think about it, we reject it right away because it's causing discomfort. When you get a new idea into your subconscious mind, it causes a very uncomfortable feeling. Now later on, Peggy's going to go through something called the terror barrier. That's when you go to work towards something you want, you hit a terror barrier. That'd be the same as when we try and change this idea. Now, I've been working on this for so damn long that I think I've got it figured out. I don't think you're one speck different than me. Now, I don't know much about you, but I do know this, that this physical instrument you're living in is exactly the same as this physical instrument I'm living in. And I know that you operate with brain cells, and so do I. And I know that when we die, we're both going back to where we came from, because energy always goes back to its source of origination. Always. Not sometimes, always. You see, all the problems in the world can be stemmed down to one thing: ignorance. That's right. That's the only problem in the world. People don't know. They don't even know they don't know. But if I see black, how many other things do I see that are not there? How many things do you see that aren't there? You could ask yourself this, because this is serious business. This is our life we're talking about. This isn't something light that you should just pass over. Say, well, that's kind of interesting. I guess it is interesting. And look at all those higher faculties. We don't learn anything about those. Hardly anybody knows anything about them. Let's take them one at a time. Well, we'll just take one of them. Let's take perception. If I have a challenge or a problem that I'm not sure how to solve, I will write it out as clean as I can on a piece of paper. I will describe the problem as clearly as I can describe it on a piece of paper. And I'll take it then and I'll put it in the center of a table, my dining room or in my studio on the desk. And I will sit down in a chair somewhere around the table and I'll look at it. And I'll say, now, is that problem in me or is it on the paper? And I will mentally work until I get that problem out of me and get it on the paper, and then I can look at it objectively. But until I do that, I'm not going to look at it objectively. I'm emotionally involved in it. Then I will look at it objectively, and I'll go and sit at another place on the table. And I'll let on I'm Earl Nightingale, and I'd say, how would Earl look at this? You know what I'm doing? I'm shifting my perception of the situation. Then I may go sit in another place on the table and say, how would Napoleon Hill look at this? Now, I've studied Hill long enough that I have a pretty good idea how he'd look at it. And I may go sit in another place at the table and say, how would somebody else look at this? And you know what I'm doing? I'm playing with my mental faculty perception, and I'm looking at it different. And you know what I'm doing? I'm reducing the problem to the ridiculous. Pretty soon it's not a problem anymore. I'll say, why was I getting upset about this? And it's gone. Makes sense, doesn't it? That's just perception. When John Kennedy asked Dr. Wernher von Braun what it would take to build a rocket to carry the man to the moon, von Braun answered him in just 5 words. He said, the will to do it. The will to do it. You know why? Will is what gives you the ability to concentrate. Will is what gives you the ability to hold one idea on the screen of your mind to the exclusion of all outside distractions. I was traveling with one of the pro golfers, and I was going around with him, following him around in his tournament. And at night, we were in a room. He said, what could you teach me that's going to help me? You guy's a pro. And he's playing in the tournament. And so I took a pencil and I went to a wall opposite where he was sitting. I put a little dot on the wall with the pencil, on the paint. And I said, I want you to sit and concentrate on that dot. And the second your mind wanders, bring it back to the dot. Don't feel bad that you wandered, but stare at that dot. I said, if you stared at it for 3 or 4 seconds, you probably set a family record. Your mind is going to wander. Bring it back to the dot. Keep bringing it back to the dot. I said, when you can concentrate on that dot for a long time, you can concentrate on anything for a long time. Because what you're doing is developing the will. The will gives you the ability to concentrate. What is your name? Kayla. Kayla, let's suppose you're in a mall. And I'm standing behind you, and I start staring at you. You'll feel it, won't you? Yes. You will. You turn around, and the person then is sort of embarrassed because you got them staring at you. How did you know they were staring at you? You felt it. They concentrate, and they send a powerful charge of energy. That's hitting cells in your brain, and you start to feel it. Because when those brain cells start to vibrate at an increased rate of amplitude, you'll feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration, and you turn around, sure as hell, there's somebody staring at you. It caused an uncomfortable feeling. Concentration increases amplitude of vibration. When this power flows into you and you're sending it out there and you're concentrating on something, you're giving it more energy. Now, Emerson said the only thing that can grow is the thing you give energy to. When you concentrate on your goal, you're giving it more energy. That's the will. You can develop a very powerful will. The imagination. Hill said it is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Everything it's a hotel. It was nothing but an idea and imagination of somebody at one time. I had the good fortune of working with Clemens Wilson and Wallace Johnson down in Memphis years ago. They were the 2 guys that started the Holiday Inns. Do you know in 1950 there wasn't one Holiday Inn? When I worked with them around 70, they had more Holiday Inns than Hilton, Ramada, and Sheraton chain combined. They were building a new room every 13 minutes. They were traveling together on a vacation, and they were appalled at the state of the hotels and what it cost for the kids to stay. And one of them said, you think somebody built a chain of very good hotels where kids were safe for nothing. And the other one said, why don't we do it? And that's where Holiday Inn started. Got a great name. Holiday Inns. I remember there was a company I was working with. They were starting a place. They were going to try and follow the Mayo Clinic, and they called it Medical Inns. I said, nobody's going to come here. It was a beautiful hotel, too. Nobody wants to go to medical. Who wants to go to Medical Inns? You think medical, you see bandages, blood, all kinds of nonsense. That place went bankrupt. You see, we've got to understand words are symbols. Every symbol has a corresponding image. When you think, you build images in your consciousness. You build images in your mind. Well, we've got these higher faculties, and let's start to understand how they work. We're going to, is Gina in the room? Gina's not in the room. Kim, has she got little cards for Magic in Your Mind, you know? Yeah. You do? We do. We're going to give you a membership to the Magic in Your Mind. That's where we teach you these higher faculties. You want to go there and study them because it's very, very important. I'm very tuned in on all these things, but only because I study it. I'm not any smarter than anybody else. I may be a little more disciplined than a lot of people because I start studying something, I won't let it rest until I've got it. Okay? Now, where are we? Okay. Is Scott in the room? Scott here? Hey, Scott, you took this clock out and you set it at 8 o'clock. It's still at 8 o'clock. That was really good, Scott. I'm glad you brought that clock. He set it this morning at 8 o'clock for me. It's still 8 o'clock. Okay? Yeah. Okay, let's get into something a little more. Normally I don't teach this because it can get very confusing to people, but I'm going to do it anyway. Your conscious mind reasons both inductively and deductively. In other words, there's a part of your conscious mind that can analyze things, and there's another part of your conscious mind that leaves your mind wide open, and anything will go in, and it'll cause you to do what you're doing. Now let's look here. Turn over to page 31, I guess it is. The conscious mind is where you reason. It's broken into two parts. One part's inductive and the other part's deductive reasoning. The subconscious mind is totally deductive. Now, what do we mean by that? It means that it's amoral. It has no ability to choose. It will accept anything you give to it. It just takes an X on the idea. It's like the earth. The earth doesn't care what you plant, but it will return what you plant. Now, if you really understand this, you're going to be a little more careful when it comes to advertising. Advertising agencies understand this very well. You will find yourself watching television, and all of a sudden, there's someone that's, they're going to get killed. Somebody's got a gun and they're ready to shoot a person right in the back of the head, and you're sitting right on the edge of your seat. I mean, they've really got you emotionally involved in this, and they've got you nervous and everything, and just as they're going to get shot, bang! There's a beautiful black car sitting in front of you. And all the beautiful parts of it, they start talking about it. They don't just put this on once, they put it on over and over and over. That's why they sell flights in advertising. They sell a flight of commercials. It means a lot of them, because they know that you got to plant this idea in their mind often. They do this with kids in kids' shows. They do it all the time on television. They do it on radio. And they set aside your inductive reasoning factor. The inductive reasoning factor, when it's set aside, the mind is wide open. Because it's like the conscious mind is gone. And your subconscious mind is wide open. Here we are here. You built an idea with your intellectual mind, your inductive reasoning factor. Deductive reasoning is where you just take the idea and act on it. Inductive reasoning is where you go from the specific to the general. Deductive is when you go from the general to the specific. I remember I was teaching this one time, and there was a person in a seminar He said, you know, I've been teaching this for years and I never understood it. I said, well, how'd you teach it? Well, he said, they didn't know. This was a guy from Dalhousie University in New Brunswick in Canada. I said, you're serious? And he said, yeah. He said, I never really understood it. Well, let's start to understand it for a moment. Your conscious mind is both inductive and deductive. The inductive reasoning side of your mind, or the inductive reasoning factor, is what takes individual thoughts and arrives at an idea. The deductive operates exactly the opposite, just takes the idea and executes it. When the idea goes to the subconscious mind, there's no reasoning taking place, it's automatic, you act on it. Now, let's suppose the inductive reasoning factor is rendered useless. See, the deductive mind is wide open then. So this is deductive reasoning, where when you're not thinking, the inductive reasoning factor is stopped, you go right in with your ideas. Then ideas go right into your subconscious mind. When you're not thinking, that's a form of hypnotism. The hypnotherapist will cause you to set aside your inductive reasoning factor, your mind's wide open, and they go right in, and you'll do whatever they tell you to do. Because your body is just an instrument of your mind. You set aside the inductive reasoning factor through fascination, agreement, or shock. Fascination, agreement, or shock. Television uses all three. And they'll get your mind wide open, and then they start firing commercials at you. That's how advertising agencies do so well. They understand this. And so their ads are placed properly. This used to be done, it was a form of subliminal advertising, where they knew that people weren't thinking when they were shopping. They just wander through the mall and pick up what they saw. They would play suggestions in music. The music, you wouldn't hear it. They'd do it in theaters. They'd take frames out of movies, just out of frames out of the film, and they'd put thirsty and thirsty, thirsty, thirsty. And then they'd have an intermission. People would all be running to get a drink. And this was done. Now, it was deemed to be illegal, so they stopped doing it. But you'd be wandering around a supermarket, there'd be quiet music playing, and that they'd have messages in the music to buy certain things. And that's how they sold things. And that was considered illegal, so they stopped doing it. But it's happening all the time to us, where people are saying things or suggesting things, and we're not thinking, it goes right into our subconscious mind. It upsets us. It turns us on, turns us off. Now, I don't spend a lot of time on this, but it's something you should look at and start to understand. Because when you're not thinking, your subconscious mind is wide open to anything that's going on around you. And that is not a good thing, okay? Turn now over onto page 35. I'd recommend you pay real close attention to this and take notes or mark things down. This is us. We have a choice, and we've got to understand we can operate from ignorance or we can operate from knowledge. Most people operate from ignorance when they're dealing with what I'm going to talk about here because they've never taken the time to study it. Now, this would represent you. There's a power flowing into your consciousness, and you have the ability to think anything you want. But you've also got to understand you have a paradigm that's controlling your thinking to a very large degree, okay? So here you are here. You can think anything you want, and what does a person do? They immediately start to doubt or worry. They're going after something, and they're looking, they've not enough money in the bank, or the sales aren't where they're supposed to be, or the doctor said, you know, we don't know what's wrong here. There's all kinds of nonsense. And because we don't understand what we're doing, we start to doubt and worry about what's going on. Now, doubt and worry are both negative concepts. It's a psychic disease. Doubt and worry can only lead to one thing as you get emotionally involved. It leads to emotion called fear. Whenever you impress an idea upon the subconscious mind, you're dealing with your emotional self. As you impress that idea upon the subconscious, it sets up the vibration of fear. Now, whatever's going on inside must be expressed on the outside, so that fear expresses itself through the physical body, and it causes something called anxiety. Now, this is where the person goes to the doctor and they give them Valium to try and cool things out. Anxiety should be understood. Anxiety comes from emotionally getting involved in negative concepts. Anxiety doesn't get expressed, though. When people are suffering from anxiety, they suppress the anxiety, and that turns into depression. Whenever you suppress anxiety, you set up something called depression. The depression turns to disease, and the disease turns to disintegration. Now, this is why St. Clair Lewis said, we don't die, we kill ourselves. We just do it so damn slow we don't understand what's going on. But what you're looking at there is where most people spend a lot of time. A lot of young people spend time there. But so do a lot of old people. People spend a lot of time there. What's the answer? Well, let's think about it. You go back here, you have the ability to think. If we understand when we look at our physical results and they're not what we want, we don't worry about it. What we want to do is understand why they're where they are. Now, there's only one way to get understanding, no other, and that is through study. That's the only way you're going to develop understanding. We want to understand how our mind works. We want to understand what happens when this power flows into our consciousness. This is mighty important. Understanding then leads to something on an emotional level called faith. Now, that's a whole lot better than the fear that's its polar opposite. But here's the real strange part. Both faith and fear demand that you believe something that you can't see. They both demand that you believe something that you cannot see. Now, the faith manifests on the physical plane, not as anxiety, but as well-being. And the well-being is expressed. It's not suppressed. And the expression turns to acceleration. You pick up speed. Why? Because you're in a creative vibration. On the other side, it was dis-ease. Here, it's at ease. And that is because you're in a creative state. The other side's disintegration. This is so important and it's so misunderstood. You know, if you get these slides in your brain, you got them there, and you really get them right, and you start to develop, and you go through this often, just go through it over and over and over again, then you start becoming aware of how you feel. You start to become aware of how you're dealing with situations in your family or in your life. You're going to find everything starts to change and change rather rapidly. But where you look at this and you say, damn, that makes sense. Well, why would a person go that way when they have a choice? Why would they do that? They do it because they're ignorant. They don't know the difference. But now you do know the difference. And so when you see yourself like that, you can flip over to that side. You don't have to stay over here. You can go over here. And you can go from there to there in a millisecond. Yeah, it's a matter of changing your thought. But it's changing your thought based on some understanding. Now, what I would like you to do is discuss this with the people at your table. Take a few moments, turn in, and start to talk about this. Talk about how you could get to a point where you're using this information constructively to help yourself. Can you see yourself doing that? Yes, you can, can't you? Okay? Talk at the table how you might use it. And you're going to find one person who's going to come up with a use for it, is a little better than another person. But you get everybody's ideas on it, it'll start to really fall into place for you. Okay? Go ahead. Shan, hello. Peggy. Where are you? Oh. Where are you sitting? Where are you sitting? Could I have your attention, please? Attention, s'il vous plaît. Hello? All right. We're giving you a brochure that I'd like you to look at while you're on the break. In 1960, gosh, around 66, I guess, I became a consultant with Nightingale Kone Corporation. I was actually prepared to pay them to let me work there. I had been earning over $1 million a year, and in 1968, I took a job with them for $18,000 a year. I wanted to learn so much, or badly. I had to get more of this. And I knew I had to get closer to the source of the information. And I went to work with Earl Nightingale, with the Nightingale Kone Corporation. Now, I started out as a consultant with them. And my life has changed so dramatically because I was working with this every day. Now, this is not for everyone, but I'm going to tell you, if it is for you, you're in for a ride of your life. This is the most phenomenal business in the world because we're literally watching people's lives change right before us with the information we're giving them. There's an absolute law that governs compensation. And it never changed. No one can change it. And it's very clear. I learned it from Earl Nightingale. The amount of money we earn is in exact ratio to the need for what we do, our ability to do it, and the difficulty there is in replacing us. There is an enormous need for what we do. Everywhere. I've never gone anywhere in the world where there isn't a great need for this. So the need is there. People are very confused. People are having difficulty adapting to the changes that are taking place in the world. And they're not about to slow down. They're picking up at a very rapid clip. When you understand the laws, it doesn't matter the change. You can maintain your balance and keep moving ahead because you understand the laws of your being. Well, the need is there. Then it's our ability to do it. If you make up your mind you're going to learn how to present this, you'll be very difficult to replace. We train all the time. We have training going on all the time. We have classes where we bring people in. We have online training going all the time. And if you become very good at it, you become very difficult to replace. You're going to hear from a lady later on in the meeting, Hannah, who is a consultant with us. She was a physiotherapist or a psychotherapist. And decided to join our company as a consultant. She's doing the same work, only she's doing it on a much higher scale now, earning many times what she was earning and enjoying it tremendously. We have people all over the world. Last time we had a young lady, Kim Culvert from Northern Ireland. She was a nurse. The most she had ever earned in a year was $35,000, and she was in management as a nurse. I had a text from her the first 4 months of this year, she earned over $400,000. Her first year in the business, she earned over $300,000. First year, from $35,000 to over $300,000. And she'll definitely go over $1 million probably this year. Now, Arash is going to talk to you a little later on with Mikey. But you have these brochures. I would suggest you take them in your break and talk about this. This is the most phenomenal business in the world. There's just nothing like it. God, I couldn't begin to tell you what it's given me. I've given everything I got to it, but I have been more than abundantly rewarded. So I want you to look at this, and if you think you're interested in this, we want you to work with us. We want to have 100,000 consultants worldwide. That's not many when you stop and think of the job that has to be done. Okay? Now, we're going to break, but just before we go to break, I'm going to ask Alec Pascuzzi to stand up. Come on over here, Alec. Man, he'd probably just wished he was anywhere but here right now. Come on over here, Alec. Now, this guy, this is a very special day. This is a day he's never going to forget. Come on over here. Don't get shy. Come on. Okay? He's 21 today. Let's sing happy birthday. Come on, everybody. Come on. Come on, everybody on your feet. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ellie. Happy birthday to you. Isn't that a bitch? Oh, goodness. You're wishing you were 21 today. All right. Let's take a break now. Gina, do you have announcements?
Just put your stuff on your seats and we'll clean up. And we're going to take a 25-minute break. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Coach's Corner. I'm with Monica DeMarin. Hi, Monica. How are you?
Hi, Mikey. I'm great. How are you?
Good. You know, just now through the exercise, Monica and I were sitting here talking about faith and fear. A few minutes ago, or maybe 30 minutes ago, I was reading through the VIP questions that got submitted today, and there were so many questions about how do I have faith? How do I let go of worry? How do I let go of doubt? And so I thought it would be great to talk to you about that and see what we can give to our life streamers. So, how does someone let go of worry and doubt and these feelings that they consciously know they need to let go of, but they need to step through into that phase?
Well, I think a big thing with that is just gaining the understanding of what this material is. When you get the understanding, living into it is a lot more easier. And once you keep moving through it, it just gets easier and easier, and you gain more confidence as you go along the way.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to understand that faith will move you through the hard times when you get connected to your goals and you're constantly getting your desires to drive you every single time, and your fear will just diminish over time.
Yeah. And I don't even think that you need to simultaneously let go of all worry to have faith. I think sometimes faith is knowing that you're going to get through the worry and that you just have to keep taking steps forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the struggle. I fall in love with the struggle because I know the struggle, and having faith backed up by it gets me through the hard times.
All right, one of the other questions that I saw a lot was, how do I find out what I really want? How do I stop my current life and figure out what I really want?
Well, a lot of people ask me, like, what is my purpose? How do you find your purpose? And I always tell them, as you grow and study, your purpose will find you. It's going to find you. It's out there. And you gain that purpose and understanding what you want is through the study. So figuring out what you want is a daily practice if you put thought into it and you really get into the energy of what you really enjoy doing, and then your purpose will just generally find you. Yeah.
And how do you feel about finding out what you really want as it relates to your self-image? Like, do you think that building your self-image allows you to find what it is you really want, whereas if you have a low self-image, you're really not seeing yourself as worthy to have it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so building your self-image is part of, it all goes hand in hand. As you grow your self-image, your picture becomes clear of what you want, and it gets formulated. Like, you have to have that crystallized, but in order to see it properly, I think the more you work on your self-image, the more clear it becomes.
I feel like all these principles are like interwoven like this, and you just have to like pick one to focus on.
That's exactly it.
Which one would you pick to focus on?
I'm constantly working on my self-image because I know if I improve my self-image, everything else falls into place. And every time I work on my self-image, like we just talked about, the pictures become clearer, and then I just reach that next level, and then I have to reprogram my mind and my new self-image to match that next level. So that's the main one I'm constantly working on.
I love it. Thanks, Monica.
You're welcome. Thanks.
We're going to play a quick video for you. We'll be back in 25 minutes at about 4:10.
I'd like to tell you about the strangest secret in the world. We live today in a golden age. This is an era that man has looked forward to, dreamed of, and worked toward for thousands of years. But since it's here, we pretty well take it for granted.
It was 54 years ago, this past Wednesday, that I picked up this book. I was earning $4,000 a year. I owed $6,000. I had no formal education, no business experience. But I had a good mentor. And he said if I did exactly what he told me, everything in my life would change and I could have anything I want. Now, do you know, I didn't really believe that, but I believed he believed it. And he got me committed to study this every day. Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Now, he said Napoleon Hill spent his entire life writing this book. He said, Bob, I think it would be a very prudent move on your part if you spent the rest of your life attempting to understand and apply it. Well, you know, I was only 26 at the time, and I don't know why, but I took him to heart. Do you know, 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year, and then I took it over $1 million.
Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If a man is working toward a predetermined goal and knows where he's going, that man is a success. If he's not doing that, he's a failure. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal.
I started listening to Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of this on a long playing record. That led me to go to Chicago, and I met Earl Nightingale, and then I went to work for him as a distributor. I ended up being vice president of sales for Earl Nightingale. I walked away from my own business to come into this business. It was the best move I've ever made. I've earned millions of dollars. I have friends all over the world. And I've sort of patterned my business after what Earl Nightingale did. I think that's what mentors do. They plant ideas in your mind and you live with those ideas. Well, that's really what Earl did with me.
When I thought of getting into this industry, I studied it like a scientist, and there was no one out there doing what Bob Proctor was doing. What we do is different, and it creates results. It creates transformation. We have consultants all over the world that are out there facilitating our programs. And you know, this is a special industry. If it's something that you're thinking about getting into, you are on the verge of the best decision of your life. When I first got into this industry, it was almost 10 years ago now, and I was a lawyer. I was doing bank mergers and acquisitions and IPOs, and I got invited to a management seminar, and I thought it was just a traditional management seminar. Well, I ended up in Vancouver, Washington, in a seminar room on a Friday night, August 18, 2006, and out walks Bob Proctor. I'd never seen Bob Proctor. I'd only heard of his name once, and he came out there, and I swear it was like he took my head off, shook it around, and put it back on. And everything that I had thought up to that point in my life, I was reevaluating. I was reevaluating who I was and what was possible for my life. And I was just so fascinated, not just with what he was saying, but how he was delivering it. And that's when I decided right there that I was going to create a program with Bob Proctor. And at that time, I wanted to focus on corporations. And I wanted to bring this information into corporations and teach them how to get the results that they wanted. And so from that came thinking into results. And that is the program that our consultants facilitate. And we are really growing this part of our company. It's a very special part of our company. We have put a lot of resources, a lot of training, a lot of certification, a lot of mentoring into helping our consultants build their business.
If you think you'd like to do what I'm doing, I want to talk to you. That's what got me talking to Earl Nightingale. I wanted to do what he was doing. Well, if you want to do what I'm doing, I'm going to tell you, move on it. If you're prepared to step out and really bet on yourself, I've got a great opportunity for you. The Proctor Gallagher Institute is building an organization with people that really want to be in this business. Look into it. Just click the button, and I'll have one of my people talk to you. I'll end up working with you. You'll end up working with me. If that's what you think you'd like, I'll tell you one thing. You'll never get anything that's more fulfilling. And I don't know anywhere where you could earn more money. There is no end to what you're capable of doing. I love this business. I absolutely love it. I work at it every day. And I work with other people who absolutely love it. I think you'd love it.
All right, all right, all right. Let's get back to business. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Tommy, run that one more time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program will begin shortly.
The program's going to begin right now. Are you guys ready? Woo! Okay. You know, Bob was talking earlier about last year when he wasn't feeling well. And there was a time just a couple of years ago, we went to the doctor for a physical. The doctor gave him some advice, and off Bob went. And a couple days later, the doctor's on Yonge Street in Toronto, Ontario. And he had been to the theater. And he came into the theater, and he's just walking along, heading to his car, and he's walking along Yonge Street, and he happens to pass by a nightclub. And it's one of those nightclubs that has floor-to-ceiling windows. And he glances in the nightclub, and there's people in there having a great time. There's people on the dance floor. And who's on the dance floor but Bob Proctor? And he's on that dance floor, and he's busting the moves, and he loves dancing. So he's up there just having a great time. And the doctor's like, what is going on? So he goes in the nightclub, and he calls Bob off the dance floor, and he says, Bob, what are you doing? He says, what do you mean? I'm dancing. I'm dancing with this really good-looking woman. The doc says, well, Bob, did you not listen to what I had to say? And he said, yeah. You told me to get a hot mama and be cheerful. He says, no, I didn't. I told you you have a heart murmur. Be careful. Okay, Bob does not have a heart murmur. I remember when I told that story. It's a joke. I remember I told that joke in Toronto one time, and a little later, somebody came up to me and said, was Bob really on the dance floor busting moves? It's like, no, it was a joke. When we were at the VIP luncheon today, there were a number of questions that were asked, and they were really good questions. And there was something that Bob said that really stopped me in my tracks. And he said the following, and I think it really helps understand the lesson that we had right after lunch. He said that you could pot 2 plants in little pots, and you can put them on your windowsill in your kitchen, and you water one, and all you do is water the one. You do not water the other one. What's going to happen to the other potted plant? It'll die. And the reason is because you're giving it energy. And you want to think about that with your thoughts as well, as Bob was explaining today with the stickman concept. You want to only nurture and give energy to the thoughts that are going to cause you to grow. And no longer give any energy to those thoughts that are going to deteriorate, cause an upset, dissatisfaction in your life. You want to focus on that. You know, when Bob was sharing that story at lunch about the 2 potted plants, I remembered a number of years ago where he did another visual demonstration on stage, and I want to share it with you now. I'm going to ask Mick Peterson to come up and join me on stage. So let's give Mick a big round of applause. So when I met Bob Proctor, as I mentioned to you earlier, that was 40 years ago, and I was in a very negative, very destructive state of mind. And if we can think of a negative mind, we can think of like this cup of coffee right here. It's very dark. And that was my thinking. So as Bob explained, and he had the stickman concept on the one side where we have the negative and how it gets into disease and anxiety and disintegration, that was really where I was at. And I was on a road that was heading to Disasterville. And so he explained that we have to put the good in. And he mentioned this morning, it's going to take some time to change the paradigms. So what happens is, as he explained with this illustration is, can you hold this glass? Thank you. is that when we get the good, like we are here at the Paradigm Shift, whenever we're in any of the materials of the Proctor Gallagher organization, at the Matrix, thinking in results, we're putting good in our minds. So for me, I decided I was going to change my life in that moment. So in order to do that, I had to put the good in my mind, put the good in my mind, put the good in my mind over and over again. So if Bob suggested a book or a program, or he offered a program, I signed up. I signed up for everything he offered, and I didn't go once, I went over and over and over again. And I would buy his cassettes, that's when cassettes were around, and I would wear them out. And I'd have to go buy another set of cassettes and listen to them again and again. So what I was doing was essentially putting the good in the mind. Now if we look at this, hold this up nice and high, Mick. If we look at this negative destructive mind, and then we add a little bit of the good. So we're going to take some good and we're going to put it into the negative mind. We're going to add positive thoughts. We're going to do affirmations. We're going to study these materials. We're going to read the books. I added some good into my mind. Did you see a change? No, not yet. Let's add some more. Change? No, we don't visually see it, right? There's a quote that goes like this: we wait as the one who understands. See, when you get this material, when you understand this material and how it works, you'll be waiting as the one who understands. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything. It doesn't mean you're not studying, but you understand it. You know what it means to continually put the good in and put the good in. Now, if I kept putting the good into this glass of coffee that's here, are you going to see a change? Yes. Now, if I took one of those jugs that's on your desk, on your table, and I poured it into this cup of coffee, what's going to happen? It'll change. Eventually, it's going to change and be as clear as the glass in Mick's right hand. Correct? Now, what happens? You start thinking negative. Something happens to you. Could be one little thing. Maybe the goal that you set for yourself didn't happen when you wanted it to happen. Has anyone ever had that happen? Absolutely. Everyone in the room, I'm certain. And so then you start thinking, this stuff doesn't work. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of the bad and put it in that glass. Did you see a change? Absolutely. Like that. It only takes a little bit of poison to kill. Only takes a little bit of poison. Now if I just continue to think of that thought, why this didn't work, or it's never going to work for me, who am I to think that I could do that, and I keep putting in more negative and more negative and negative, eventually the results will be reflective of that negative mind. So you've got to be very, very cautious. Now that you have a greater understanding of what you saw this afternoon, of what's really going on in your conscious mind, to have that awareness, to notice when you think the thought, to instantly switch to a more empowering thought. You've got to act as if you are the person that you want to become. You've got to walk down the street like you're that person. You've got to live, embody that persona of the person that you want to be now, not some other time, right now. Let's give Mick a big round of applause. Thank you. Was that helpful? Yeah, I saw that demonstration many, many years ago, and it really impacted me. And that was probably in the early days of going to Bob Proctor seminars, and I still think about it. And I remember a period of time in my life where things start to spiral down. And we were talking about that actually just before the break, when I reached this point. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more tomorrow. I'll tell you the story of how this came to be. But I started spiraling downward. And it didn't take long before I was upside down again financially in a very dark place. But I decided to get my butt off the ground. Now, when that event happened to me, I could hear the words of Bob Proctor. And that's something that you'll find. I'm sure Gina hears Bob Proctor's voice all the time as well. And I could hear Bob Proctor's voice, and he said these words: "Do not cry over anything that won't cry over you." Isn't that good? Don't cry over anything that won't cry over you. It's not going to serve you. It will do no good. It's like Winston Churchill said, if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Right? Find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So what I'd love to hear from you now is, from after lunch, when Bob taught, what he taught this afternoon, helping you understand more of your mind, showing that diagram. And I know for some of you it was new, but for others it wasn't new. What I'd love to hear are, again, what struck you? What was it that you learned this afternoon that really made a difference for you? And I'd love to hear some more sharing. So I'm going to run around the room again with the microphone. And who would love to start? Don't all volunteer at once. Perfect, thanks. We're going over to Nick. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I shared a story at the table when Bob told us to share what we learned. And so I'm going to share with you really quickly. 5 weeks ago today, I was in my basement, depressed, full of anxiety, and my husband came home and said, "I'm not happy, I'm leaving you." It was actually the best day of my life. I had about 2 hours of, oh my God, and then I just said, universe, I hand it over to you, faith.
Surrender.
I surrendered. I quit my job. I'm making over $100,000 in profit on my house today.
Yay!
And I have a new job.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks, Doll. Who else wants to share? Oh, yay, Ozzy.
My name is Ozzy. One thing that I love Bob mentioned, it says fear and faith is both believing in something that we don't see. So why not switch from fear to faith?
Absolutely. Thank you. I like that. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Something that really stood out to me was the example that Bob Proctor gave right here. And he said that we don't see with our eyes, we just see through our eyes, but we see with the thoughts that we've been trained to think. So that was huge because it did make me kind of sit here and think about, hey, what have I been taught that's actually not true that I just say unconsciously just because I've been taught that way. So that was huge.
Amazing. Thank you, Audrey. Appreciate that. Thanks. We'll stop here. I'll get to you.
One thing that struck me was the fact that what you were doing up on stage, it only takes a little bit of poison to kill. When she put 1 teaspoon of the good in the negative environment, it changed the mixture instantly.
True.
And just because you don't see it doesn't mean you didn't feel it. So
True.
I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Victoria. I appreciate that. Thank you. Jeff.
This was such a great exercise because when you have ignorance, you don't have understanding. And you are confused. You're never going to go anywhere because you're going to get into it. And I see so many people fearful, anxiety-driven, suppressed, disease, disintegration. But with knowledge and understanding, you're going to have faith because you have a knowing. And when you have a knowing, there's nothing like being the well-being.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
One thing that stuck out to me was that you don't control, what pops into your mind, but you ultimately do control what stays there. So to choose what you want to direct your subconscious is ultimately, your choice, and that really stuck out to me. So
That's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. Who else? Someone over here.
Richard Lovejoy from Sonoma, California. I really love this. This is absolutely amazing. And one thing that stuck out to me is when you have a thought, either there's fear or love or faith. And I love the word faith. Our acronym for it is following an invisible truth home. Because it is about following an invisible truth home.
Truth home. Oh, I like that.
So and the thing about it is you can stop this process on the fear side before you get all the way down to disease. You can say, okay, I'm in fear, I'm in anxiety, and like he said, pause, stop, and then make a different choice. Because you can stop the process anywhere along the line and move back to faith and then move down the other side.
So true. Thank you, Richard. Absolutely. It's all in awareness. I saw a hand over here. Where was it?
Well, I have to say this part because this was very important for my understanding that Bob said, you only can change things that you understand. If you don't understand your subconscious mind, you never can change it. It's the key word, and awareness, bringing the awareness to your thoughts and your feelings at all times.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Hi, this is Karen from Mexico, and what I got the most is says, when you are thinking why you can't do it, stop and look for the solutions. And the second thing was successful people make decisions so fast. I got this invitation the day before yesterday, and I'm here. I came from 30 hours from Mexico in a bus, and I'm here because I got the decision.
Wow.
And my leader here.
Wow.
Thank you. And I just want to thank really quick my leader who has been an inspiration, and she's the one who brought me here. And well, if we can all give it a clap to Paloma Sansoris, who has been a real inspiration for me.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's amazing. How old are you? 22. She's 22.
Yeah.
30 hours on a bus. How many of you spend 30 hours on a bus to get here? Okay, I'm coming right over here. There we go.
Another big takeaway that I had is pretty much, again, touching on what someone said earlier, how the only difference between faith and fear is really a choice. But another powerful thing that I found out as we went to break is that when you find yourself going towards that ignorant state, you can literally change your state instantly by doing one of the most powerful things, which is gratitude. And then one thing I learned too, as I was thinking about it, is that questions open the mind and statement closes them. So if you have that ignorant state and you're just like, oh man, I'm mad, or whatever things you're saying to yourself, if you just change and you ask yourself, like, what good can come from this? Or how can I be grateful within this moment right now? And then you just start thinking about these positive things, and it moves you from that the ignorant sides to pretty much the what was the other side? Knowledge side. Yeah, and I love pretty much too as well. He said the how do you get understanding is pretty much through study, and that just is so powerful. So
Absolutely.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you so much. Let's share.
One of my biggest takeaway that you just mentioned earlier about the plant, whether that's positive or negative, where you put your energy, that's what's going to give more back to you. So when I think about it, that every time that I want negative or that I want positive things in my life, I just think about like how much energy do I invest in these things, or what thoughts maybe, whether that's positive, gratitude, like what he said, or just like, and also the decision, just like making that decision, whether you don't know it or not, just show up and do it anyway. So.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. Pax? Thanks. There's a hand. There's another hand at this table. There we are.
Hey, y'all. Okay. So for me, I had an issue with reaching certain levels of success in anything that I did, but it was getting to another income level is what I struggled with. And so what I was looking for was to remove a barrier or a paradigm that was preventing me to think greater than the levels that I was reaching. So from this, I've taken that I need to up my level of consistency and I need to up my level of discipline.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that. Okay. Excuse me. That's okay.
Hi, my name is Jason, and something that really stood out to me was when Bob was mentioning how powerful concentration is, and just like setting a match to a piece of paper, how it can really speed up the process of making what you want happen. And so I will definitely become more disciplined on really setting time aside to really concentrate on what I want and build that model in my mind.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Yes, let's do you, and then we'll head to the front.
Marky Simon, South Carolina. I think one of the biggest things that actually I kind of share with our table that really stuck out to me was earlier within the beginning, Bob stated that successful people make decisions fairly quickly because they already know exactly what they want. So I kind of relate that, to things I do in life and in my business. I have people that immediately take advantage of opportunity because they know exactly how it can be a powerful vehicle for what they actually want and need. But oftentimes you may have people who are not quite sure exactly what they want. They may see certain things, may have certain perspectives on things, so their decision is kind of tainted because they haven't really found their definitive purpose as to what they want. As far as my mentors and things of nature actually instill in us the power of belief. With that being said, for a person like myself and those in this room, it definitely seems like we know exactly what we want. So all the information that we're retaining can definitely be a vehicle for us to get it there.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcus. That was great. One of the exercises that Bob suggested for you to do earlier, right after lunch, is he said, write out a description of how you would love to be living your life. And what else did he say? Right, 100, did he say 100 times a day? 100 times a day. All right, he said make it short and concise. Well, that'll definitely bring it into your awareness. I know sometimes people are saying, how do I do all this? There's an example. That's a great exercise to do that. That reminded me of Neville Goddard, who Bob talks about, who was one of the greatest teachers of these materials. And something that I had learned from Neville Goddard a number of years ago, and similar to what you were talking about earlier with questions, the kinds of questions that you ask yourself. And Neville Goddard suggests that you ask yourself the following question, and I would suggest you write this down. And the question is the following: now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? Now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? When I first heard that, I was at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina del Rey, and I wrote it down on a little sheet of paper in my room, and I put it beside my bed. And I would ask myself that question. You see, just before you drift off into sleep, you're moving through different stages, through different states, and you are far more open to suggestions just before you drift off into sleep. It's the most powerful creative time of the day. So if that's the most powerful creative time of the day, wouldn't you want to be thinking about what you want? Wouldn't you want to be thinking about your dream fulfilled and not thinking about what you don't want? But what happens to most people when they put their head on the pillow and they try and go off to sleep? Start thinking about what's wrong. They're worried. They're thinking about their bank account or lack. They're thinking about their business, what's not working. If you ask yourself, or when you ask yourself, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And then genuinely feel it. Like really invoke the emotion. If you did that right now, now that your dream is fulfilled, how do you feel? What feeling would you have? Calm. Exactly. What about you, Ricky? A sense of achievement. Excellent. But you felt a flood of different emotions, right? It's like, which one do I choose? It's not that you're going to have one. You'll very likely have several emotions. And the point is, what you're doing is, as Bob shows with the lines of demarcation, lines of energy, vibration lines, your goal is here, you're here. You've got to be in frequency. When you ask yourself, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And you genuinely feel it, you are now in harmony of the goods that you desire. And you do that before you go to bed. And Neville Goddard said that when you do that, that will dictate what shows up in your life 65% of the time. If that's true, wouldn't you want to be thinking about only what you want? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you can also have that question handy to ask yourself at any time. When you start to entertain a negative idea, just dismiss it. Ask yourself the question, now that my dream is fulfilled, how do I feel? And you'll move from that negative state over to the positive state. And you can do it like that. And that's what you want to do. All right, was that helpful? Excellent. Okay. Well, we have a treat for you. I'm going to be bringing up to the front of the stage a couple of people that have been in the study and working very closely with Bob Proctor for a number of years. Mikey, who you met this morning, Mikey Stiller, who was awarded with that beautiful necklace with the diamond exclamation mark in it. She was a nanny before she came to work for Proctor Gallagher. And 10.5 years later, she's COO of the company and Director of Marketing. She not only supports this organization in extraordinary ways, but she is a wonderful student and a wonderful example of these materials. So we're going to be bringing Mikey up to the stage, and with her, we're going to be bringing Bob's head coach. This is a gentleman that has been studying with Bob Proctor now for 9 years, over 9 years, and his life was upside down when he met Bob, and he is the best student that you've ever seen. He understands these materials, he works very closely with Bob, and both Mikey and Arash are going to come up here and share with you their understandings and their teachings and how it's changed their life. Let's give them a big round of applause. Knock them alive.
Let's keep the music going. Do we need a 30-second dance party? Everybody get up. We're going to shake it out. Wait, Tommy, where's our music? I was like, where is it?
They're like me.
Everyone's like, let's all give Bob Proctor and Peggy McCall a huge round of applause for everything they taught us today. It was incredible. Thank you, Bob and Peggy. All right, so we have Araj here. Peggy, thank you for those wonderful introductions. Araj is one of my best friends. We've been working together for 9 years, almost 10 years. And he is the most amazing student I've ever met in my entire life. He's that one person, like the 1%, that actually does anything Bob says. So he is an anomaly, and he's a great person to learn from. So, Araj, I'm going to pick your brain.
All right, let's do it.
All right, I'm going to sit down. So I would like to ask you several questions. We've got all kinds of people in the room. We have young people all the way up to older people. Am I allowed to say that? Younger people, older people, people from around the world. That was really bad. I'm sorry. I'm new here. Ignore me. Anyways, we've got people who are just starting their personal development journey, people who have been on this journey for a long time, and people who have all different sorts of needs for coming to this event. So I'm going to try to touch on a lot of different topics so we can give people nuts and bolts and strategies to get them where they want to go.
All right.
Cool? All right. So I know we were talking earlier today to the live streamers about the one big takeaway you had from Paradigm Shift in April, and I'd love if you could share it with the room for me.
You know, since April, I've been really big on just one thing. You know, it was one decision, one habit, one gap that I'm looking at for my own life. And I was talking to Bob last week about it. And I said, you know, the biggest thing that I've got is just focus on that one thing, because when I first started studying this, I was focused. I'd have a list. Okay, I'm going to do 10 things. And then I'd have a checklist, and once I do it, then I'll really get to where I want to go. Well, I never got there. And I would always set myself up for failure. And as I've been growing in and growing and doing this material now for the past 10.5 years, I've really ingrained this one thing concept. And I always teach my coaches less is more. It's not about how many things you do. It's the little things you do compounded over time create the big results. And so since Paradigm Shift, I was like, I'm just going to focus on that one thing. So I'm always, my daily start of my day is everything. Because I think how you start your day dictates your whole day. And I've changed my process because I was getting a little stale. Like imagine going to the gym. You do the same thing over and over again, and then you kind of get bored. You're not really stretching yourself. Same thing with your mind. So I changed my process, but I only changed one thing. I had everything else, but I added one thing. And it was a game changer. Anyway, let's piggyback the conversation from Bob. Bob said to me, I was telling him this, he sends me an Instagram post of Chris Powell. And Chris Powell was doing a radio show, and he said, he was telling the audience the exact thing Bob and I were just talking about. He said, when you focus on one thing, you will achieve your level of setting yourself up success, I think it was like 76%. And he said, when you add that second thing, it drops to 27%. And I could be a little off on the numbers. I'm just going off memory of what it said, but it really re-emphasized that one thing.
You know, that's an interesting concept, especially because at a weekend like this, we're talking about so many different things you could pick from to implement, and I feel like they're all kind of woven together, and they're all connected. Like if you're working on self-image, you could also be working on decision or any number of things. So how do you pick that one thing that is the most important for you to work on?
You know, I always, like Bob was saying earlier today, that him and I are always talking about, and we're looking, I call them gaps. So I look at my gaps, like where could I really get the best use of putting my attention on, okay? So if you're sitting out there and are wondering, what is that one thing? I think for anyone who is just starting out, you're in the middle, to me it's always self-image. You know, so I don't think we're ever there. So I think we can always improve self-image. So if you're out there wondering and not knowing where exactly your gap is, or if you're really judging yourself and I have this, this, and this to do, I would go to self-image, because we know our self-image is a direct reflection of what we draw into our life, and we can't outperform it. So you can never go wrong by going there.
I love it. Now I want to take you back to the beginning of your story 9-10 years ago. Give everybody a little bit of a glimpse of where you were, but from where you were, I imagine you had some worry and some fear, and I want to know how you let go of that to move forward.
That's a good question. You know, I just believed in the material so much. I was telling Mikey, I have a good friend of mine, he's sitting over there. Gus, stand up for a second. So this gentleman and me, I got Think and Grow Rich for the first time. And he was studying it well before me. And I said, why don't we read it together? This was before I knew about Bob, anything. So Gus and I would read it, you know, and he's actually, well, he doesn't know it, but he's actually a part of my success, because I don't know if I would have done it if I didn't have a reading partner at that time. And the funny thing is now, I hate reading partners. Like, I hate them now. But at that time, I needed it, you know? So it really was the start. But in terms of, and I used it because he's here. You can sit down, Gus. But, you know, I used it because I think about where my mind was back then. I just believed in the material so much that I accepted every idea. I remember it was like, when I read that book, I said, all right, I'm going to do 500,000 was my first income goal. And the most I'd ever done was 100, and I was still working at that time at a job in the corporate world. But I just accepted it. I said, that's what I'm going to do, you know? So I think the benefit for me is I knew my results were there, but I didn't let it control me. And I believed in everything I was reading or studying. And then obviously when I met Bob, that's when everything just took off.
So for those of us that don't know exactly what that means, what does it mean to accept an idea?
Well, if I'm reading something and it says it, I believe it. You know, if it says, like, for example, auto-suggestion, if you keep reading the same thing over and over again, or affirmations, same concept over and over again, it will eventually happen. Like Bob was talking about that today. Most people are accepting they're accepting ideas, but most people are accepting ideas of what they don't want. Well, at the same time, you could use that same energy and accept ideas of what you do want.
Yeah, so really truly being in non-resistance to the new idea.
It's there. You're accepting something anyway.
Yeah.
You know, see, Bob taught me a long time ago, and I still have it by my computer. He said, suggestion is the most powerful force in the universe. He said, most people are accepting suggestions all over the place from things that are so disadvantaged. It puts them in such a disadvantage.
That's so good. Thanks, Raj. The next question that I want to ask you is about, I want to go into faith and fear, and I want to talk about it because it came up so much during the VIP lunch, and people were struggling with, how do I choose faith over fear? How do I get through faith, or get through fear to faith? So what are your comments on that?
Well, I think we are choosing one or the other at all times. There's not a time that we're not choosing one or the other. We're just doing it unconsciously. Like right now, I'm up here right now, and I'm choosing faith. Like I could choose fear and be like, what do they think? I don't really care. Like that's how I'm wired now because of all the stuff that I've done to get my conditioning so much stronger. So the only thing is, why not put ourselves in the best position possible? So if somebody's out there choosing fear, does that feel good? And the answer is always no. But when we're at our best, and I say they, but I say me, you, we're at our best is when we're choosing to accept the idea in the best possible situation. You know, I teach something called reframing. Reframing is if something negative is happening, I change it to a positive. And I'm always doing that because what would I rather do, feel good or feel bad?
You know, you just brought up feeling your best. I want you to talk about standard, which is something that you teach a lot with your team, and I think it's such a great lesson to implement in every area of your life.
Well, this is like my core belief. I think our standard is the DNA to greatness. And I don't think we can achieve who we really are if we have a minimal standard or if we have a medium standard. Everybody here can achieve far greater than they can even imagine. But in order to do that, we have to hold our standard high. You know, especially when adversity comes. That's how your standard is really tested. Because when you have adverse situations, it can easily go into, well, what if this happens? But we never drop our standard. If we drop our standard, we drop our expectation, and our expectations controls our behavior. So I'm so big on personal standard. Bob and I always talk about self-respect. That is a part of your standard.
How do you go about setting a standard?
You just show up every day. You know, it's not about these huge wins. It's the little wins that create the big wins, that create more confidence, which is going to slowly build up your standard. It's not like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to have this kick-ass standard. You know, that's not how it really, I wish it was. It wasn't, you know, because I started down here. But I kept getting these wins. Well, the wins increased my confidence. And I think we gain the best confidence through action, through actually doing those things. So you were talking about fear. To gain confidence, you have to take the action. You can study all you want, but if you don't go out there and take the action, you're not going to get the results.
That's so good. And I feel like so many times you're not even afraid of something, you're afraid of the unknown. And then once you realize what the known is, you wouldn't have been afraid of it in the first place.
And the unknown is where your excellence is.
Yeah.
That's where your real mastery becomes at anything you do.
Now, how does accountability play into your standard?
Well, I think accountability, Bob taught me this. So Bob taught me accountability is a success insurance policy. And so if you have a high standard, you want to set yourself up for success, so you have to have accountability. Now, I think there's all different kinds of accountability. There's personal accountability. You know, there's somebody you trust. Like Bob and I have accountability. Mikey and I have accountability. You know, I have my own accountability with myself, which is the strongest accountability, because nobody can look themselves in the mirror like I can to myself. So I think your personal accountability is the most important. That's just my personal take on it. You know, that's what I've known through my journey.
And how do you improve your own accountability? Just make a decision?
It's discipline, you know. And I always tell clients that I'm talking to on the phone, and they say, but I'm not disciplined. I said, you're talking to the person who was the most undisciplined person you could have ever met. I would start things, stop them, start them, stop them, start them, stop them. I mean, this was a vicious cycle. And then once I started understanding the importance of discipline, and I think Bob has the best definition of discipline that I've ever studied. He says it's giving yourself a command and doing it. It doesn't sound that hard, right? Then you have to do it. And that's where I think this one thing that I was talking about earlier has been such an aha for me, Because one thing doesn't sound that hard, but then you add 3. Then you're like, can I really commit to that?
Mhm. So when you talk about discipline, I think that goes, well, it does go hand in hand with being a great student and following through with what you say you're going to do. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about why some people get great results, or 3% of the people are going to go home, get great results, and the other 97 are going to go home and not make any changes.
Well, it goes into what I was telling you about action. You know, when you do the thing, compounded over time, you're guaranteed to get the results. It's putting the work in. The work isn't just here where you guys are right now. This is where you're going to create an emotional impact that you're going to really see when you leave here tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Sunday. Sunday, you're going to leave here and you're going to be so jazzed up, but it's what you're doing on Tuesday, what you're doing 2 Tuesdays from now, what you're doing that Sunday. You know, are you thinking about that goal?
Yeah, and what you're doing when circumstances aren't perfect.
Yeah, and I got one more thing on this. If you want to live like the top 3%, then you've got to think like the top 3%, you've got to act like the top 3%, you've got to be it. Not when you get there. You do it right now. And if I can do it, any of you can do it. I promise you that.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Tell me where you were 10 years ago.
10 years ago, I just lost my job. I was getting married 3 weeks later. This is before I met Bob. And I was $150,000 in debt with a foreclosure sticker on my garage. Not great.
Not great. So what did you do to turn it around?
Well, Bob and I had a mutual acquaintance, so Bob actually got on the phone with me. And Bob said to me, kind of like what he was saying today, he said, what is it that you really want? And I said, I want to create a life of freedom doing what I love. He says, what do you love? I said, I don't know. I like what you do, but I don't know. I want to help people. And he said, how serious are you to make the change? And I said, I'm very serious because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And he said, will you do what I tell you? I said, I'll do anything if it works. I didn't care what it was at that time. I didn't care how much it cost. It didn't matter to me because my way wasn't working. And he said, if you'll do what I tell you for 1 year, you're going to be living completely different. And he said, if you get off this phone and don't do it, you're going to be living the same way. And I remember at the time, I didn't have another choice, in my opinion. Now, I didn't think it was going to work either. You know, you got to understand, I was where my thinking was at that time, and I had a lot of pressure based on where my results were. But I didn't know it wouldn't work. And I just started doing what he told me. And I say it to this day. The thing that I think that helped me the most is I had a tremendous attitude. At that time, if you talk to my friends, you talk to my wife, I wasn't down and out. I wasn't gloom and doom. I just said, I got to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, you were talking earlier about how many years ago you were the kind of person who would start something, stop something, start something, stop things. So why was this time different? Was it you borrowed the belief Bob had in you, or were you just like really at your bottom point where you, I don't know, like how did you keep going?
You know, I'll tell you how Bob said it to me. He said you had a sufficient reason to win. He said before you were insufficient. You know, you were earning a 6-figure income. You know, and he said you didn't have a sufficient enough reason. Your back was against the wall, and he says you really did what I told you. Yeah. And I really look back on it now, and I think that. I said, because I couldn't afford not to do what he told me.
Yeah, that's really good. So that goes hand in hand with decision, because you made a decision. You were going to do what Bob said. You were going to do the coaching, and you were going to turn things around. So let's talk about decision.
Well, I think you look at the young lady who said she drove 30 hours from Mexico. Now that's a decision.
Yeah.
You know, that is awesome. You know, there's a great quote that I love, and it's by Dr. Kenneth Blanchard, where he says there's a difference between being interested in creating the life we want and being committed. He says when we're interested, we do what's convenient. When we're committed, we do whatever it takes. We accept only results, not excuses. And that's all I know about decision. It's not doing some of the time, it's doing whatever it takes. There's people in this room who are my clients who I told them this. I said, if you don't make a decision, you're risking more by not doing it than by doing it. And I talked to everybody in this room, everyone on the live stream. Bob's the one who taught me about decisions so much. And if you are sitting there wondering, you're holding resistance in you. And if you're holding that resistance, you're not allowing your true greatness to come out. And that it all starts with that decision that until you show yourself you can't do it this time, then stop. Just go that one extra time. Go that extra 5 minutes. Do that extra action. You'll be shocked where it takes you.
I love it. I know you have several clients in the room. Do you have a client story or two that you could tell us?
Well, I got plenty, and so, I'll go over the ones that I saw. I saw Ricky and Marco when I was walking up, so I'll use them. And they came to our Matrix event, and when I was working with them, they were scared. They were like me, though. They were, is this going to work? And then they came to Matrix, and we're sitting there, I think it was day 3 or day 4, and they're like, Arash, I haven't seen anything yet, and boom, now look at them. And Marcos told me it was the best thing that he did for his business at that time. Well, they didn't have a business. They wanted to start a couple things, And I think Bob talked about them today, too. So if you guys go talk to Ricky and Marco, ask them what transpired. And I'm always so happy for them. I'm so happy because of what it does for them. I look at Mariko. I look at Danielle. I mean, they're consultants with us, and they're absolutely crushing it. But forget about what their results are for themselves, and I think if you talk to them, you'll see it's who they become first of all, and how many lives they've changed. It's just tremendous. I have another one, Hina Khan. She's going to be speaking to you guys tomorrow. I was talking to her outside because for a year to 2 years, Bob and I were really encouraging her to be a consultant, and she kept on resisting it. Her first month, she had 15 clients. Wow. So she probably made $100,000 in her first month, and it just took off, And I was joking to her, I go, it's worth it now, huh?
That's funny. All right, well, let's talk about our Matrix event. What is our Matrix event?
Matrix is my favorite thing we do in person. Matrix is such an emotional experience. So Matrix means birthing of an idea. So whether you have an idea or not, you'll come in with an idea if you have one. And if you don't have one, Bob and our team works with you on really creating one that matches your personality. And you mastermind with Bob and our team for 6 days, and we create an executable plan with you on exactly what to do and how to do it. And I always tell people just to really simplify it so you really gain the understanding. There's 3 key components of it. Number 1, Bob works with you on your consciousness to eliminate anything that holds you back. Then he works with you on the consciousness of your ideas, on how to expand it and grow it. Number 2, he works with you on the creativity of your ideas and how to really market your ideas in the marketplace so you really can go set yourself up to really create what you want. And number 3, he works with you on connections. And I always say it, Bob literally opens up his Rolodex, because if you need something, he's going to connect you to the right people. But it's not just the connections from Bob or myself or Mikey. It's connections for everyone in that room. Then it's connections from everybody else who's ever done a Matrix. So it's like anything. If you will do what we teach you, you're going to get the results. And I think Matrix is so hard to explain because it is such an emotional experience.
And a lot of people with Matrix think that you have to either be a business owner or have an idea to attend Matrix, and I don't think that's the case at all. I think you can come just because you want more. Even if you don't know what it is, you'll find out at Matrix.
I have several clients who had no idea what they wanted. They came to Matrix and they discovered it.
Yeah.
They discovered who they were. It's not even just an idea. I've had Bob tell me countless times how he has some friends in Canada who came that were in a terrible place, and it changed everything.
And you mentioned a couple of our consultants that we have. Actually stand up if you're one of our Proctor Gallagher consultants in the room. Yay! That's amazing. All right, I know we're going to have Hina come up tomorrow morning, but really quickly, could you tell everyone what our Proctor Gallagher consultant program is and what our consultants do?
Sure. Our consultants, Bob and I, we mastermind on the consultancy just about every day on how to help the consultants really win. The consultants are for people who want to build a business, they have their own business, but I think Bob says it the best. You're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. Where Bob and our whole team help you really create a business. And you'll be teaching what Bob's teaching right now, but in a very structured manner. And the consultancy, we have people, I don't even know how many countries we have them in now. I think it's close to 100 countries that we have consultants.
It's over 100 now.
It's over 100 countries. And we teach you everything from the business. You know, we teach you how to get clients. We teach you presentations. You're going to be teaching Bob's Thinking into Results program that Sandy created. And you're going to be coaching your clients for 6 months at a time. You know, I always tell people, they'll come to me and they'll say, I want to become a coach. I want to have my own business, but I want to do it myself. And I said, that's fine. I don't know why you would, though, because by the time you brand yourself, get the marketing, get the program, you're spending a couple $100,000 if you do it the right way, where this is already set in place for you. Plus, you have training, and the best training. And every quarter, you get to work closely with Bob, where he brings all the consultants in from all over the world, and he works with you and keeps fine-tuning what you're doing.
I love it. Thanks, Raj. And you just mentioned something really interesting, how you and Bob are brainstorming all the time. And I know you guys are talking on the phone almost every day or every day about different ideas. And I bet everybody in the room would like to know what that's like, brainstorming with Bob on a daily basis.
Well, it's amazing. You know, if you would have told me 10.5 years ago that's what it would be. Now it's no different than you and I talking. You know, Bob's one of my closest friends now, so I don't look at it the same way you guys might. You know, it's just like any friendship. But when you're brainstorming with Bob, you got to be ready, you know, because if he likes an idea, he makes you go do it right away. This isn't, I'm not joking, like you think getting uncomfortable, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, go create a meeting, get this going, and get back to me, you know.
And then 30 minutes later, he's like, is it done?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, so, but Bob and I, we're very similar. He'll tell you that. We're very similar in what we're wanting and how we're thinking about, you know, the benefit of the clients. I think that's what we're always doing, and both of us never think it's good enough, you know? So we're always thinking of what we can do better.
I love that. You know, with studying with Bob for so long and so many years, I know that you've had a ton of different huge aha moments and lessons that you've taken from and learned from him. What are your biggest one or two?
I mean, my first one that comes to mind right away is attitude. You know, I remember one day that I was having a tough week. It was like the middle of the week, and he didn't feel sorry for me. And he said to me, he said, Arash, I'm going to tell you something. I want you to burn it in your mind. He said, anybody can have a great attitude when things are going great. He said, the true professionals in life have a better attitude when things are not going as well. And I have never forgotten that, and I implemented that right away. We talk about accepting an idea. I implemented that right away, and it's become a strength of mine.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah.
All right, what's another one?
Another one is simplifying, accepting an idea. You know, one time, and I'm going to put it in a story so it makes more sense, he was congratulating me on something I had achieved. And you got to be careful what you say to Bob because he picks up on everything. And I said, that'd be great if I could do that every day. He said, well, why don't you? And I said, well, I'm not sure. He said, all you have to do is accept the idea. And I said, that's it? And he said, this isn't rocket science. He goes, we make it harder than it is. Once you accept the idea, it's done. That's how you did it. That's how you did it the first time. He said, you just did it unconsciously.
I love it. Thanks, Raj. Can we get a mic runner? We're going to take a handful of questions. Does anybody in the audience want to ask a couple of questions? Yeah? We've got one in the back over there. I can barely see hands because the light is so bright. One over there. Peter, can you run a mic? Thanks. Well, he gets a mic over there. Oh, I have the mic. Sorry. There's a card on all the tables that has a list of our programs and a little bit of an overview. If you're interested in learning anything about any of our programs, go ahead, fill it in, check it, hand it to somebody on staff, and you'll get to talk to Raj or one of our other amazing coaches. I think it's so interesting to talk to them, pick their brain, learn from them. They can help you so much. Like if you're struggling figuring out what it is that you really want, all of our coaches are personally trained by Bob and Sandy. They are so good at helping you figure out what you want and how to get there. So I really encourage everyone to have a conversation with them. Okay, Peter.
Arash, Jeff Levine, thank you for sharing so much. You were great. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. What I wanted to know, as we all get into business, one of the challenges we have is running the business, marketing the business. What kind of training do we get? I know that everybody goes to Toronto like every 3 months. What kind of training do we get to get the clients to run the business properly? Because one of the things, anything new, where am I going to get customers?
That's a good question, Jeff. You know, the first thing you have to understand with any business, your business is a direct reflection of you. As you grow, so is your business. That's number one, okay? So we get your foundation right first. Second of all, we teach you presentations. And we have so many success stories that we don't just do it ourselves. Our consultants are always helping each other on what's working, what's not working. We teach you how to put on seminars. We teach you how to coach one-on-one. We teach you how to coach to groups. And we give you what's working in terms of marketing. If you're doing social media marketing. You know, Bob is so generous with the consultants too, where he'll do a webinar and invite, I'm giving you one example that comes to mind. He'll do webinars and invite your prospects onto the call, and he'll do the whole thing for you and really promote you and get clients to be working with you. But Jeff, I'll tell you this, like anything, you have to do the work. You know, Bob told me that, and I want to stress this. This isn't just you sign up and be a consultant with us and build the business. You have to be willing to be coachable and follow the instructions.
Thanks, Raj. Peter, you have another one?
Hi, yes. When it comes to leadership development and identifying a leader, how do you bring the best out of that leader, and what are some tips that you would give in terms of making that happen?
I think the first thing is you have to hold the image of who they can become, not who they are showing up as right now, but the best version of themselves. Because we're dealing with paradigms. And once you hold that image, they're going to walk into that image eventually if you hold it long enough. And in terms of developing people, some of your best leaders can be the shyest person at first. You know, but if you keep giving them attention, keep really working closely with them, you will continue to develop people. And I think one of the biggest things is being honest with people, really telling them the truth. And they may not like what you're telling them at first, but you're doing it for their good so they can grow.
I'm going to piggyback on that too and just say, I think the most important thing too is empowering people to do good work and not hindering them from doing their work, like really empowering them and trusting them to do good work, lifting them up and letting them kind of like spread their own wings. Yeah. Peter?
All right. I'm going to say a quote to then ask my question, because the quote pretty much goes into the question. But one of my favorite quotes is that pretty much, we are what we repeatedly do, therefore success is not an act, it is a habit. So I want to ask you, what are some of your habits that you developed personally that allowed you to just change your paradigm and create the mindset that allowed you to reach the level of success that you have now? So what were some of those personal habits, and then what were some of your work habits as well too that you did and you mainly focused on your everyday business activities?
Sure. So I still do the same thing I did when I started. I think one of the best things I do study-wise is auto-suggestion, where I will repeat my goal over and over again for 5 minutes. I will record it on my phone, and I may be taking my dogs for a walk or a run, and I'll listen to it. That is non-negotiable for part of my process. You know, that's one thing I do. Gratitude's another thing that I do. Rewriting my goals out 50 times a day is another thing that I do. And it's a total pain to rewrite it 50 times. Like, I do not enjoy doing it. I really don't enjoy doing it. But it's how you internalize it. You know, and I'm telling you, it's the things that you hate doing are the most beneficial for you. And whatever you're not like doing, it's benefiting you. Keep going after it, you know. And I still have never enjoyed writing my goals. You know, it didn't even make any sense to me because my mind is telling me, come on, you've already written this down. And, you know, you'll play tricks for you. So that is what I do in terms of studying, giving you a few. Work habits, it's my daily goals. It's my personal standard. Like, I have a daily goal, and I don't stop working until I hit that goal. And if one day I don't hit it, I don't beat myself up because I knew that I showed up at a 10 and that's all I can do. You know, my personal standard towards my daily goal is my work habits. Like, if you talk to Bob about my work habits, he'll tell you that I have tremendous work habits. You know, but it's really, but the work habits start with my daily goal, but I don't just set the daily goal, I'm committed to it. I said, I'm doing this no matter what, and I'm really committed to it. And I take a lot of vacations because I go so hard that I need a break, you know? And I go so hard that I need a break, but I'm more effective that way.
Thanks, Raj.
I've had the opportunity several times now to hear this interchange, and I've learned a great deal listening to Arash. And I realized that there's something that you gain from hearing other people's perspectives. I remember Phil being on stage once, and it was like it just totally clicked for me what he said. I get the same thing listening to Peggy. I realized when you guys are talking, Mikey's always asking the questions, and I wonder if you'd be willing to sort of reverse chairs, and maybe we could hear a little bit of what has been impactful for Mikey.
Yeah, hi. So I think the reason that we do it that way is because Araj is teaching this information every single day, while I'm more on the operational side, working on the business every single day. So it's more comfortable for him to talk and teach, whereas I'm more comfortable not teaching. But to get uncomfortable, yeah, do you have a specific question?
So, yeah, number one, get outside your comfort zone. I like that. Everybody's kind of asked the questions, you know, where I was trying to get is I've heard Bob say a couple of times, you know, I have these people in my company, and they're knocking it down on a daily basis, and I've really watched them grow. What have been some of your real game changers in your experience from where you started off? What have been the things that have really clicked and made a difference for you?
Yeah, I mean, so just like any of you, everybody in the company is also students. We're all either in person at the event or on the live stream learning, taking notes, and listening just like you are. So we're no different than you all. We've probably been to a couple more events, some of us. But some of my biggest takeaways are habits and discipline. So I'm sure you've heard Bob talk about, I think he talked about it this morning. One of my best attributes is my attitude, but that's not something that I have to work on. Like, I just naturally have a good attitude. I have since I was a little kid. But I've kind of turned that into a good habit I have a positive perception when things go wrong. So it's kind of attitude, but it's also perception. Like, when things go wrong in life or in business, I just naturally look for the opportunity or the good. I don't even entertain why it's bad or why I don't like it. Is that good? Feeling very red. Does anybody else have any more questions? Okay.
I have a question for you. So when you approached, you came as a nanny, how did you end up even in the presence of Bob Proctor?
Sure. I was actually a personal assistant / nanny for people that worked with Bob. And if you've heard Sandy tell the story, when she first met Bob, there were 17 companies. So I worked in one of those 17 companies as a personal assistant / nanny to one of the partners. It's a very confusing story. If you're following all of that, when the companies got molded into one, I came over to the main company. That's a horrible way to tell the story. So I started as a personal assistant nanny for people who worked for Bob, basically. That's how I got in Bob's presence. And they were doing a launch at the time of one of our programs. And I had just moved to Arizona from Oklahoma. I didn't have a single friend. And so at night, I would watch marketing videos because I didn't have anything to do. I didn't have any friends. And they were planning this launch. And so I decided to write the copy for the launch, the email copy. They had already hired a copywriter, but I went ahead and gave it to them anyways. And I said, I don't have any friends, so I wrote copy for this launch in my free time. I don't know if it's any good, but if you guys want to use it, you can. And so they tested it, and it did better than the copywriter who they hired to write copy, and so I started writing copy for their company. they hired a nanny, then eventually they hired a new personal assistant, and then I became just in marketing. And then once the companies all came under one company, I came under marketing for the entire Proctor Gallagher company, and that just kind of went from there.
Yes, ma'am. How you doing? This is actually my very first event, just as well as a lot of you guys here, the very first event. So one quick question probably for the both of you all, as far as your journey when you all first got started. Oftentimes, as far as my mentors who's in the room, obviously, I like to highlight, they always talk about creating your environment. From that standpoint. So with that being said, with all the great information that we've learned today, as far as shifting your paradigm and things of that nature, for those of us who are brand new, our first time, what would be some tips that you guys would say that we can take with us as we go back to our environment in order for us to continue to stay on the same high, the same wave, and to be able to properly apply all the information going forward?
My advice would be to be the spoonfuls of good energy into a negative environment, and don't let any spoonfuls of negative energy into your environment. So go be a bright light in your environment, and really be protective of your environment and what you're letting into your environment. Outside sources, news, negative friends, negative family members. Be really protective of who you're letting in your environment, what you're letting in your environment, and be selective and be your own bright light. Don't rely on other people for your motivation. Don't rely on other people for your happiness. Don't rely on other people to make you feel like you can do something.
For me, I would tell you a couple things. First off, I was at an event like this back in 2007, and it was called Create Your Own Economy. And it was my first ever Bob Proctor event. And when he opened up, he said, 3% of you are going to really make it happen. He said, make a decision that you're going to be one of those 3%. So that's the first thing I would tell you. Outside of your environment, make a decision here that the next event we see you at, you're going to be in the top 3%. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is go and mingle with people, meet like-minded people here who you really connect with, and create accountability afterwards. Create an accountability and get their numbers and commit to doing something with them for 90 days. That way, you'll have people who are actually in this environment who have been in the energy who can relate to you. And I think the people you surround yourself with, the books you surround yourself with, these are conversations you're having. Even with an author, the books that we gave you guys, if you read them, you're having a conversation with Bob. So surround yourself only with good people who are going in the same direction as you and the same material.
Okay, we're going to take two more. Peter?
So for myself, I'm going to brag a little bit about being a consultant. The best part is that when I'm sitting in front of client, I cannot ask them to do something that I'm not doing. So it kind of keeps me accountable for what I'm teaching. What is the best part of your job that you love about? What do you like the most?
We're in a really amazing environment all the time, and I know a lot of people's workplaces are not like that, but we're in a workplace where big ideas are widely accepted and great attitudes are expected, and everyone wants everyone to win and wants the company to win. So I think the biggest perk is that we're in such a great environment with such incredible information, and we get to talk to Bob and Sandy every single day and learn from them and their awareness, which is huge.
I think for me, piggybacking everything Mikey said, but I'll add one thing to it, is being able to teach this every day. I think it's a true blessing, and I don't take it lightly. I don't feel entitled about it. I am so grateful that I can teach this to other people, because every time I teach it to others, I'm not just helping them, I'm helping myself. And I get so much repetition of doing it. There's nothing more fulfilling than, for me, is teaching this material.
Totally agree.
We have two more questions here, so two more.
Okay.
So I have a statement and a question. One of the statement was, one of the biggest things that I got out of the event was, you're going to get out of life on the level of vibration that you get. So how do you change the vibration that you need in order to get what you want?
So the first thing you do, if you want to get on the vibration of what you want, you've got to think as that person right now. So whatever it is you want, already be there. Be from the wish fulfilled. Like Peggy was talking about it from Neville. You know, sustaining that feeling of the wish fulfilled, that's how you get on that vibration. Now, to stay on that vibration, you've got to alter your paradigm. That's why I write my goal out 50 times. That's why I do the auto-suggestion, because that keeps me there. Because right now, if I had a new goal and I said, I'm so happy and grateful now that whatever it was that I wanted to achieve, I automatically go to that frequency where that goal is. But I drop right away because my paradigm isn't conditioned there. So my job is to internalize and do the things that I already suggested between repeating my goals, visualizing, writing, but then the actions will come too. I can't just do that and not the action as well.
Hey, thanks for coming, guys. So let's see if I can word this the right way. So you guys were saying one of the things that differentiates you and got you to the point where you're at is a winning attitude. A lot of the stuff we're learning has to do with the mental side of things, vibrational energy, right? But how does this take a form of the physical results? How do we get from changing our vibration to seeing things in our real world? Does it manifest? Is this new paradigm we adopt make it easier to take action? Can you guys kind of talk about that?
Yeah, what about the quote, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So just because you're not seeing immediate physical evidence that your one good thought was thought, doesn't mean it's not coming, doesn't mean it wasn't planted. Like a seed doesn't bloom the same day it was planted. You have to give it time, and you have to keep that consistency with the faith, knowing that the process works.
Yeah, it's going to be the repetition of doing it over and over and over and over again. Then you're going to change your belief, and once you change your belief, you attract what you're in harmony with. So if you look at your results right now, just from a neutral place, and you'll see them, well, that's how you're conditioned right now. So if you want to change your conditioning, you've got to become that person. I'll use an example too. Like I have young kids. Now they're a little older than crawling age to walking, but you know, I watch them, and I was thinking about what we do so much, because they would crawl to try to get up to walk, fall. Crawl, get up and fall. But what happens is a lot of adults, and I know I used to be one of them, I'd give up too early before I made this change. You know, how many of us are not doing enough of the repetition? You know, somebody said earlier that what we repeatedly do is, I'm not saying in the term he said it, from the quote from Aristotle, is who we become, but it's the repetition over time that is going to change your paradigm. But remember, it could change it in a negative way as well. If you're repeating the wrong things, if you are getting emotionally invested in your present results, it is impossible to change those results. So you want to get emotionally connected with what you really want, and then you'll attract that to you.
Thanks, Raj. You know, I saw this quote this morning right when I woke up, and I want to share it with everyone, and then I want to give you a chance to say final thoughts before we close up for the evening. But the quote was, "You get one life. Why are we not all running as fast as we can for our wildest dreams?" And so I want you all to think about that as you leave today. Like, you have one life. Run as fast as you can for whatever it is that you want.
That's good.
Yeah, isn't that good?
Yeah.
It makes you feel good.
You know, I'll tell you something I'll give you something Bob told me. He said, we don't have 1,000 years to live, so we can't screw around. And he said, you've got to take action, not just a little action. You can't worry about what other people want. You've got to go after what you want with every cell of your body. And I would encourage you guys to adopt what I did and do what this man tells you, because he has changed my life, that I've been able to change a lot of other people's lives and my family's life. And you just don't know how far you can go. Like, I love challenging myself, and I love showing I want to know what else I can do. Like, so I'm constantly stretching myself, and I get to this point, I said, let's just keep going to see what else we can do. And I know from the people that I've been trained by, from what I've done personally, there's so much inside of you guys, and it's dying to come out. There's another person inside of you that's dying to come out. Allow that person to come out.
Thanks, Raj. All right, let's give Raj a big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
You were awesome. We are are going to come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. VIPs, we're going to open the doors for you at 8:30. Gina, I'm waiting for a nod. Is that right? Okay. At 8:30, General will open the doors for you at about 8:45, 8:50. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.